It always feels like it's been forever since the last one, doesn't it?
I come to these things with so much like anticipation. I'm like, oh, 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 and especially with this one, and like we'll get into things, but I don't know if you noticed, Willie, but at the end of the last episode, we went off air, we stopped recording, and I immediately went into like concerned parents. I immediately went into like, now you send me the gym that you're going to go to so I can look at it and make sure make sure it's a reputable place for my boy.
Uh-huh. Well, and how did that go?
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
So Wooly, I have not so much an update, but a little anecdote from my week. And it relates to a piece of media that has quickly worked its way into the lore of this podcast. Also, just to say, look, I know people get a kick out of the way I say or. It's just how Irish people say or. I don't know what you want from me, okay?
Yes, and look, I've been very respectful. I've that's like, I'm not gonna kick and it's like, no, that's the way it's said, and that's what you're used to. And I had an accent too when I was growing up in Grenada. It's there was, and I got made fun of when I came back to Canada for that. Yada yada. It's fine.
Yep.
It's more just the first time it happened, I legitimately did not comprehend the sounds that I heard. Like I legitimately didn't understand or like I was like, or what? Or like
Okay, well, if the comment section of that video is anything to go by, you are not alone in that, Wooly.
Okay. Here, can you try, just out of curiosity, read the sentence that I'm going to type out for a second?
Okay. Aaron Aarons and Iron Earn.
Okay. So that's a particularly funny one because there's a really great viral video of like, so in America there's a lot of different accents, and like in particular like certain black accents like have certain syllables that like come together and sound very similar. And so there's some videos of like a couple dudes reading out that sentence, and it kind of comes out as earn and earn. And the lady's like, wait, hold up, what? Earn. What? And he's like, what? We really talk like that? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, Aaron earned an iron urn. Okay, yeah, there you go. But it's just like, it's funny how those things go.
But you know what? You know what sounds weird to me? R. That's how you guys sound to me.
Arf, arf, arf.
You're like little weird dogs. I sound like a seal. You're like a tiny dog. Anyway,
I mean, the truth is that it should be R.
Look, the truth is we're all saying it wrong. That's what it should be.
Raman, Ragavan. Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I'm in a taxi and I'm going to town, and I'm chatting away to the driver, and I'm like, where are you from? And he's like, oh, I'm from India. And I was like, oh, no way. And I get talking, and I've actually seen a bunch of Indian movies recently. I watched Monkey Man.
I heard that was really good.
It's good. It's interesting. It will come up later.
Okay. It got recommended.
And I saw a really interesting Indian horror movie. Let me grab the name of this real quick. It was fucking weird, but it was pretty cool. And of course, or came up. Okay, I watched Brahma Yugam. BRAMAYYUGAM. It's basically a film where for 2.5 hours, two men fight a goblin in a house.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's very atmospheric and weird and super worth seeing in the cinema if you can.
Okay. Do you know if it was Bollywood?
I do not have the confidence to say what area of Indian it might be from.
Fair enough. All right.
But it was really cool, really interesting. A weird one, like very slow paced. So if you're not cool with that in cinema, you don't like it. Anyway, I say to him, I says, And that
if you're not down with slow paced, what's wrong with you, anyways?
Yep. You know, I didn't want to say it, but yep. But so I mentioned that I've seen or, and he goes, oh no way! I actually had one of the actors from or in my taxi the other day.
Whoa!
And I'm like, oh no way! And he's like, yeah. Do you remember like the evil woman from it? And I was like, yeah, I do. She was great. And she was like, yeah, I had her in the taxi. And so first of all, she is like 58 years old.
Huh.
Or something like fair play to that woman.
Huh. Wow.
But then this taxi driver, he starts explaining to me that, by the way, just to say, Woolie, this story involves me nearly dying. Yeah. Yeah, this is where this is going, okay? There's a slightly different version of this story, Woolie, where you're doing a podcast with an empty seat, okay?
I thought we were just gonna have a friendly conversation about your newfound, appreciation for Indian cinema.
Which is a very real thing. I'm really enjoying Indian cinema. It's awesome. But
yeah.
So anyway, this taxi driver starts explaining to me that he has a special ability. And his special ability is meeting celebrities.
Okay. All right.
And I'm like, oh, okay. That's in my head, I'm like, that's not really that impressive. And then he starts going through every celebrity he's met. Muhammad Ali, Nelson Mandela, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Britney Spears, Beyonce, and I'm like, you know what? That actually is a little impressive. Okay. And then he goes, oh, I actually, the woman from Or, I actually got her autograph. And I was like, oh, cool. Now, Woolie, we are in a moving car, moving at about 40 miles an hour.
Uh-huh.
And we are on the Quays, which is the River Liffey in Dublin. It's basically like a main road going through Dublin Central, like around, like basically through the heart of Dublin. It's a very, very busy road. He reaches over, he grabs a notebook, he puts the notebook down in his lap, and with both hands holds the notebook and starts looking for her autograph. And I'm like looking at him, and I'm looking at the front of the car, and I'm like, I don't think this is
Jesus Christ.
I'm like, what the fuck is happening? A car pulls out in front of us. And I go, and he looks up, grabs the wheel, and swerves, and Woolie, it's so close, the motion sensor in the car goes off.
What the fuck, man?
Yep. And I'm just there going, and then he kind of looks back, and he looks at the front, and he goes, Jesus Christ. And continues to search the notebook.
I believe you, dude. Yes, you got it. I believe you.
Yeah.
I'm sure she was incredible. What the fuck are we doing?
Yeah. Woolie, I was so horrified, I didn't know what else to do, so I took out my phone and I took a little sneaky video of him, which I'm going to drop in the chat for you to see.
Okay.
It's only a short video, but now notice the buildings in the background flying by, and notice where this man's attention is.
Yep. Scrolling on the yeah. Okay. Oh, Jesus, dude.
Yeah, and it was real, like, what a fucking stupid way to nearly die. Like,
oh my God.
Oh my God. And it was weird because it was like, you always see yourself going out with a little bit of pathos, a little story, maybe at a culmination. And then you think about like all the things that you never would have said to people if you had died. Woolie, live on air, do you mind if I say what I thought of when I thought of you in those final moments?
Yeah?
If I had died, it would have been your fault.
If only I hadn't brought this film to your purview. You know,
Yep.
Oh God, the domino
And
effect.
you never would have known.
Wow, Woolie,
you would have been hobnobbing it at my funeral, acting like you didn't play a major part in my death.
Was that the that was the taxi driver who was looking for the signature, who nearly crashed because he was scrolling through his phone, but it was the signature from the lady from RRR, which is the film that you watched, which was recommended
when I didn't
I wanted
go to the fighting game
to learn to do the dance, because the dance was the punishment because you didn't do the thing. So the thing that you failed to do was actually the reason why you ended up watching them. Right, that one.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Right. Okay. So your own inability to get to a fighting game tournament might have taken your life, John.
Well, I mean, I feel like I've been pretty soft on this, but I'm gonna say that the Leaside Collision website was slightly confusing. So there's blame to go all around.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Oh God, it's going fast and loose. That's crazy. That's insane.
It was.
So, I mean, that's obvious. Like, you just have to get yourself out of that situation as quickly as possible. You know, I mean, there's a point where it's like, yo, fuck being respectful. Almost, it's just like, that's wild. Fortunately. The only once have I been in a similar situation where I was grabbing an Uber ride not too far from my place, and it was maybe like 9 p.m. or so, and the ride down the road, I just noticed that, like, from the moment I got in, it was about, like, again, maybe 5-7 minutes. It wasn't very far to go. But the driver's head just kept nodding off.
I had that once as well.
And I'm like, dude, like, it was like every red light was like, right? And then just drowsing. And, like, thank God it was like the traffic was like pretty, it slowed everything down. So it was like, no, there wasn't a ton of like acceleration, but I'm like seeing this dude start to like drone off and shit. And like, yeah, he's like kind of like startling himself awake. And it's like this, I'm like, and so we get like, there's like a couple more turns to go. And I was just like, hey man, actually, can you just let me out here? I'll just walk the rest of the way. Thank you. And the dude's like, and he's like, yeah, okay, and it's just like, yeah, I'm like, I'm just no, get me out of there. That's insane. And, like, you can't be continuing to go after you feel that, man,
So I had that exact situation before. Me and Sudden Mango were in LA, and we were getting a taxi back from somewhere, and the driver is like he's going, and eventually he goes, do you guys mind if we talk and have a conversation? I'm having a tough time staying awake. And it was like, what? Don't drive with sleepy drivers. Don't do that.
No. And and I didn't know this, but it turns out there's a button for my driver was sleepy. There's a button in the thing. So,
really?
Yeah. So I was like, that was really scary. And it was like, oh yeah, there you go. There's my driver's sleepy button, but
Jesus
it's like,
Christ.
Yeah, just, you have to like, I understand that. I know some people are working like later shifts and shit, but it's like, man, that is just, it's basically drunk driving. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you're impaired.
I think the statistics behind it are fucking insane as well. Like, I think it was like comparable to drunk driving. I might be misremembering that, but it's like,
I believe it,
way higher than you think it is. But
God, man.
But despite the best efforts of distracted and sleepy taxi drivers, Woolie, we're here. I'm Eyepatch Wolf.
I'm Woolie Versus.
And we are Versus Wolves!
Play the intro.
Versus Wolves!
Woolie, we started a little bit last time on this here podcast. We started patreon.com/Versus Wolves podcast.
True.
And listen, too many people are after subscribing, so I am officially declaring that the Patreon's closed and we're not taking. Listen, just
Shut it
okay.
down.
Look. It's too early for bits. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you
that
so
was,
much.
Fucking overwhelming.
Yeah, awesome.
Like,
awesome feedback from everybody. Awesome start. Honestly, it's been great. Wow.
Like the last couple of months in a lot of ways have me and Woolie has been like me and Woolie looking at each other and being like, so this podcast is a thing.
Oh shit, it's real.
Oh no, people are here.
Shit.
No,
It's actually real. And it is, yeah, we've got to really, like, we're dicking around, but, oh fuck, okay, yeah, it's going.
Yeah. And just, genuinely fucking blown away with the support we got on the Patreon. The first episode of our side podcast, the Intermission Lounge, is up, in which we go over Saga. A new Intermission Lounge will be going up in 2 weeks. If you're looking at the timeline on YouTube and you're like, God damn.
By the time you hear this, it should be dropped.
Oh, sick.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
cool.
The second,
if you're looking at the timeline on this and you're like, oh, I only got a couple of more minutes with my Versus Wolves, buddy, let me tell you about patreon.com/Versus Wolves podcast. We got a tier there, suit your needs, and listen, you can get 2 episodes just waiting for you. The first of which is Saga, the second of which is
Inscription.
I remembered the game, just not the name. That was what was
Yes.
happening there. This podcast was me being like, yeah, I didn't finish the last little bit because I got the idea, and Woolie explaining basically, I think the greatest video game of all time.
Some wild shit happens right beyond the cusp. No, so yeah, we get into a full discussion about that as well. And yeah, more like that to come. And then, our plan is to have it be so that we can get, in between episodes of the main, we'll be having an intermission for you guys each time. So, please look forward to that as well. In this next one too, we didn't get to any questions in the next one. Just wanted to let people know, by the way. So, we'll be getting around to that as of, I think, what comes right after this episode, right?
Yeah, we're still figuring out the formatting with a bunch of stuff, and so especially with the Intermission Lounge, where it's a new podcast with a new format, we just need to.
Let me just. Can I just? I would say, I think I feel like for some people what is like, we're starting a new podcast in addition to the new one. So people are like, 2? What? Why? It's like, no. It's not a new podcast. It's Versus Wolves. We're just doing extra bonus episodes on the Patreon.
It's an extra bonus episode of Versus Wolves. That's all it is. Apologies.
Because just the idea of there are 2. You started a new one on top of the new one. It's like, what the fuck is happening? I'm like, no. Don't think it.
No.
It's Versus Wolves. It's the show.
It's Versus Wolves. It's all yeah.
But yes, that's coming up there. And again, for everyone who's in there, thank you. And in the Discord, things are popping off as well.
That is a fun ass Discord.
Been jumping in and talking to some folks and answering some questions and giving some insight, that is not to be shared outside of the Discord.
There are many secrets of the Discord. I just want to dispel rumors that it's a cult. It's not a cult. I don't have to explain to you what the bread of the Spider Queen is. It's not your business.
Just know that there is some knowledge that is only earned upon entry, and it is not to leave at any point, and that is what it is.
But yeah, listen, thanks to all our patrons. But listen, thanks to just everyone who's watching.
Yes, please. This is coming pretty late. We should have probably stuck this at the beginning, but didn't.
We absolutely should have. Maybe we'll get Fox to do some magic.
Fox, maybe do some magic. But hey, if you're hearing this, go to YouTube and go to Versus Wolves and click subscribe. Just click that button. That helps a lot. And it'll keep you up to date on what's coming out with the newest episodes and some of the highlights and fun stuff as well. Click the button. I know it's fun stuff. Click it. All right, cool.
And hey, look, I'm not going to tell you what it is, but you click that bell, and there's some fun stuff happens.
Damn, that's crazy.
Yeah, I'm not going to say too much.
And you know what? I know you already said to yourself, I was going to click subscribe, but I just forgot. Well, now you're getting reminded. All right. John, we're back. We're here, and I don't know about yours. Well, I do know about your side, but over on this side, we are now living in a post-eclipse world. So, have you had any experience with a solar eclipse?
None, and we barely got it over here. I don't know that we got it at all.
Yeah, so I was... This is one of those bits that has, like, you know, come up a couple times. When I was a kid, there were I have memories of, like, going to I saw 2 partial eclipses, and they were okay. I remember it was like, oh, you use the pinhole camera, or you get the special lens, and you kind of see the sun with the part of it, like the bite taken out, you know. And my mom took us out to as well to check out a lunar eclipse one time, and it was kind of cool, you know, to see kind of the shadows and stuff. But I remember it was something I just, like, I'd read about it, I'd learned about it in school. I always got a bunch of nature magazines as a kid. We got, like, this magazine called, like, World Ranger Rick, you know, and like Owl magazine. These kids, National Geographic, essentially. And like I learned about, like, you know, it from that, and I was like pretty fascinated, but seeing them, you know, as a kid, and then again, I think in college, a partial eclipse happened. I was like, okay, it was all right, you know, it was pretty, you know, no big deal. But Punch Mom was like, yo, let's go check this out, you know, and I was like, yeah, I guess so. I mean, it was.
So when you say check this out, are we talking Path of Totality?
Yes.
Okay.
Because that's the thing, is I ultimately was like, I remember seeing 2 of these before, and it wasn't that big a deal. And Punch Mom was like, no, we really should go check it out. And she was, you know, kind of like going like, yeah, like it would be fun to catch this. I mean, you know, you don't often get to. In fact, the last one that appeared in this part of the world was in the 1930s. And I was like,
whoa.
Oh, wait, hold on a minute. I think I haven't been thinking about this correctly. The last time we had like actual total eclipse in this area, it's like, yeah, it was last century, you know? So it's like, okay, all right, let's do it. And there's a pathway that, like, it's like a strip across the ground that you can, like, see on a map of, like, where you can see partial, and then in the middle of that line will be the total, and then back to partial again. And as long as you're there at the right time, you can catch it. But I had never seen a total eclipse. And so we drove out, you know, down to like some kind of farmish area, picked a spot on the map, and we were going in, and like essentially if you were in the city, you could get 60 seconds of total eclipse in Montreal. But if you made it to like one of the middle areas, you could get up to 4 minutes maximum. Right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we got into the point where we got to about 2.5 minutes or so, a couple hours out. And dude, it was fucking cool.
So, okay, here's the thing. So I generally didn't have much of an interest in the eclipse.
Mm-hmm.
I have heard from multiple sources, it is actually quite a, like, profound thing to experience.
Yes. I went from not really caring, especially because my memories of it were like, it was kind of, you know, not kind of underwhelming a little bit, but okay, it was interesting. But the difference between partial and total is it can't be compared. Like, the partial is like, yeah, you get to see that little, that odd shape to it, but ultimately it's the sun being the sun, and, you know, you have to use your tools in there. When you get to the total eclipse, like, you know, to the totality, like, the world changes, and you suddenly realize why all these fictional stories, movies, and real things too are all like the magic hour. The eclipse is happening, you know, like your berserks and your personas and your anytime something like where the planets all align, you're like, oh yeah, this is a crazy magical moment of like. you know, if you believed in something, it feels like that thing is happening.
Yeah. That's the moment where you're like, so God's real.
Right. If you know, and or just the again, it's one of those like, yeah, humbling kind of just like, oh fuck, the insignificance of me and the fact that this is something that can just happen. And you just kind of slowly watch as like the day turns to nighttime in seconds. Crickets and birds and animals get confused and don't know what's going on. You know, like you see sunset around the horizon all around you, and then you just look, and the sky just becomes a big burning ring. You know, and the fact, and then you could just look at it with your naked eye, and you're seeing the Kyokusanagi logo, you know, from King of Fighters. You know, like there's a million other versions of it, the Elden Ring, but but like seeing it with your naked eye and just staring directly at the sun it's a wild, crazy feeling. And like having, again, 2.5 minutes of that, of like, holy fuck, I'm taking this all in. It was wondrous. Wondrous is the word, you know? And as it starts to come back, there's a little shimmer right around the edge that starts to like get a little brighter, and then there's a hit of like, oh, it's bright now, time to look away. You know, some people didn't, and they hurt their eyes, and it's unfortunate because if you look that up, there's lots of warnings about what not to do. But that moment of just taking it all in, and then like as it comes back, there's a giant like spherical rainbow lens flare around it in the sky. That's like a perfect, like, you know, blur of like the cracking of the light coming back in at you, you know. And yeah, it was just incredible. It was really cool. And as we were there was people that are like, there's Eclipse chasers is a thing, you know, and we happened to be pulled up to a little stop, and the people that were there were like, yeah, we came from California, actually. So like there are people who fly and make it out to have this moment again and again and again.
And it sounds like that makes much more sense after you've experienced one.
Yeah, I get it. I personally think like I would not get on a plane to experience it again. That's a bit much, but I would drive multiple hours to experience that for sure. Sure. It was super cool. And the moment of like, whoa, this is a way bigger deal than I thought. I found out that apparently there was a battle that took place in Roman times, and two armies were fighting when a total eclipse happened overhead. And everybody stopped and went, are the gods mad at us? Did we fuck up? And then they went, guys, we take it back, we're sorry. And they signed a peace treaty and went, yeah, no, never mind. That was fucking crazy.
Whoa.
Yeah. So it's that kind of moment is like, if you like, you just go back through the times when before we understood the way things worked, and you're like, oh, this is how people come to believe anything. It's like that looks otherworldly. It looks like some, you know, the gods are mad and they darken the sky. What are you doing? You know,
it's crazy how like that's sort of the first thing your mind jumps to, right? Is like, oh no, we have enraged the Almighty. But like, what else could explain something of that magnitude?
Yeah. And you've never in your life seen anything like it. No one else around has ever experienced it either. It's just, that is the stuff of legends. That's what you hear about all the time. And everyone around that's there is going to take that story back and tell everybody. And the fact that thousands of warriors are coming back and saying, yeah, we all saw it, is like, no, everyone's going to agree. Yeah, let's not fight. Let's legitimately, you know? So no, it was pretty cool. And, you know, I, as somebody who, like, when I spoke to my friends about it as well, like a lot of people I spoke to were very much like, yeah, I thought it sounded interesting, but I didn't bother with it. It wasn't that big a deal. And I'm like, yeah, I was there too, you know? And it was.
Yeah, you see, but this is what I've heard multiple times there. It's like, no,
I didn't care.
We're so small.
Yeah, I didn't care until I got dragged to it, and then I cared, and I was like, I get it. That was fucking cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's me, Michelle, and the Irish pop band Westlife. I'm just sitting there.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Among like just a bunch of women, and I'm just kind of looking up at stage, and they're descending out of a giant melting sun, and I'm like, yeah, I get it. Like, okay,
fair enough. And shout outs to anybody that planned accordingly and did things like some people were like, yeah, never mind the eclipse going down. I'm going to plan the sickest shot. Here is the eclipse happening over a Waffle House. And just
Nice.
panning up from the Waffle House logo to just like the burning ring in the sky.
That's
so
awesome.
Yeah.
Oh man. I guess I was not even aware that the eclipse was really a thing until people started talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons for that is I'd say for the last I'm going to say since the last time we recorded one of these podcasts, I have been deep in finish the video mode.
Yes.
And I kind of wanted to pick your brain a little about this, Woolie, because you have dipped your toes into the video essay sphere on occasion.
Ever so slightly. And we've talked quite a bit about like the feeling of just putting your entire soul into a thing that you edit, releasing that, and then just all the feelings that follow immediately after. And yeah, I don't envy it. It's a wild way to be. I
remember a couple of years ago, there was a tweet you put out after dropping, I think it was one of the Guilty Gear essays of just being like, I don't know how people do this. I think you added like me and Bunny Hop and maybe a couple of others.
Yeah. I think in Austin as well. Like, because I mean, that's the thing is like my main thing is I do Let's Plays, I do live stuff, I record, and it's all like fairly raw, but like I'm used to just being off the cuff and going long form in that way. And I did originally a long time ago do an edited series. I did like Fighterpedia, which was like a fighting game show that was like highly edited, and I learned about like just having a joke every couple seconds and just dense intense editing. And then there was the Secret History of Reboot video I did, and that was pouring everything again into it. So
which was an excellent video. Excellent video to the point that I got mildly annoyed.
Oh shit. What, like, I brought you into this world, I could take you out?
I was kind of like, Woolie doesn't do enough video essays to be this good at making a video essay.
Well, yeah. Well, no, I did learn quite a bit from that, and I brought that in.
I'm a very bitter little person, Woolie, just in case that hasn't become clear over the course of this podcast.
Hey, it's fine. It's fine. We'll learn to live with it. But no, and so yeah, the Guilty Gear lore series that I did, I feel like that was my most recent like return to. It's not quite a video essay, but in terms of editing and intensity and like,
it's a video. That is a video essay.
Okay, fair. And yeah, the amount of yourself you have to put into one moment and then click release on the upload and just sit back and let it go is wild. I'm so used to small things coming out frequently, and if something goes wrong or if something goes well or doesn't, it's ultimately like it's a wave, but these are like silence into mountain spikes.
Yes they are. I have been working on this video for 6 months.
Damn. Okay.
And it's such a weird sensation releasing it. Like, it's so...
Well, it's a film length, right? It's 2 hours practically? Like,
pretty much. I think it's like an hour 55.
Yeah, that's a movie. Like...
Yeah. It's just... It's so weird because, like, I think if there's one thing I feel like people don't understand about videos like that, at least the way I work, I'm sure a lot of people do this as well, but, like, it's not like I just started at the start and then wrote it and then edited it and then released it. I wrote it and I read it back and I was like, this sucks. And I rewrote it and I read it back and I was like, this sucks. And then I repeat until I feel like this is a good script.
Okay.
Then I edit it. Then I watch the edit back and then I'm like, this sucks. And then I re-edit it, rewrite it, watch it back. And like, that is why a video like that takes 6 months.
And for those listening, you're talking about the bizarre world of fake video games.
Yeah.
Right.
But you could apply it to any video that's length, at that length.
For future reference when people are wondering which one.
Sure, yeah. And releasing it is like, it's so weird because there's a lot of relief, but then like the views start like coming in, and that video ended up doing quite well. I know it had a couple of 100,000 views the day after I watched it. I haven't checked since. I don't really like to pay attention to that stuff because it just freaks me out.
Of course, but that's awesome.
You get like, it's this weird thing where you're also like exhausted. Like my entire life for months was that video, and all my energy was going into it, and then it's like you're done, and all of a sudden there's just this giant void in your life, and like playing video games doesn't really fill it, you know? And you're kind of like, but then like, then you're really relieved it's done, but the worst fucking part, just the imposter syndrome. You just get this intense, like I didn't think people would like the video. I was kind of like, I think I've just kind of whiffed on this one. Like I think I've just haven't really made good contact. I said to I was sitting there in a room by myself just thinking about it, and the words escaped my lips. I think just some people aren't meant to make YouTube videos. that like, after doing this as a full-time career for 8 years, that is where this video brought me. Like I had
for the food in your mouth and your goddamn rent with this editing and with video
for years. After dramatically succeeding more at YouTube than anything else I have ever tried. There was a moment where I just genuinely was like, I think I just need to come to terms with the fact that like I am not working out as a YouTuber. Based on nothing more than like more than like, well, that bit 40 minutes in gets a bit slow, doesn't it? You know, it's like,
oh God. I mean, look, so, you know, I think something that has been just invaluable that I remember learning back in the days of art and art school, and, you know, when I was in illustration and such, and you with art as well, you definitely learned this skill. It's something that I, you know, didn't think I'd need, but coming back to with videos and then with Guilty Gear lore, when I was burnt the fuck out after, because the first one I did was like half an hour or 20 to 5 something odd minutes, and then the last one was like 2 hours. Like it just ramps up. That thing you're describing of like, this sucks. This just fucking sucks. This is not a good thing that I've spent a lot of time on. You learn in art, hopefully, to walk away and just let your brain reset on the thing and come back at it with fresh eyes, right? Like I remember just like not knowing that you needed to do that sometimes, and it'd just be like, no, just keep working, and when it's done, it's done, you know? And especially when I was in college for this stuff, it's like you just put, like, you know, you're working on a 20-hour pointillism piece, you know, and you're just like, I'm just gonna go, and then when I burn, I'm gonna go further, and then until I won't stop working on it until I'm walking into the teacher's office and handing it over, you know. But like the stopping and like just not even looking at it, just literally walking away. It's like it you know, this is like, sometimes artists will do things like flip something backwards to see what it looks like from the opposite way, just to see like, oh, that's a mistake I didn't notice otherwise because I've been staring at this for too long. Fresh eyes, right? It's like that. And that is it's super useful because like you come back to something that you hate and you're like, oh, wait, I don't hate this. I was just staring at it for way too long.
See, I think the issue is with a video like this, we were at reset number 5, I would say, by the time it went out.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Where like I literally abandoned this video, made another video, and then came back and finished this video.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Which was good, because it was like, I think just last year, like I kind of talked about it in bits and pieces, but like last year was a pretty tough year. And when I returned to this video this year, I was like, oh, a very depressed little person wrote this script. I think we might need to punch it up a little bit, you know. But like, I'm glad it's done, and like, you know, I've received a lot of very kind feedback about it. there's a weird dissonance that kind of happens when you do get like positive feedback about something, but you just feel so indifferent. And like that, like this is kind of the state this video put me in. Last night is the first night I slept through in weeks. You know, just all the way through. Didn't wake up being like, oh my god, is that the right source? You know, like, so yeah, it's fucking weird, dude. But hey, I'm happy it's out, and I'm happy that I finished it and got room to play Policenauts.
Yeah, we're jumping right there. Okay,
I think so.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say that, like, to close out the thought there.
Sure.
It sucks that, like, our brains don't treat positive and negative feedback the same way. I don't know if we've touched on this before, but it's just like the way we've like evolved is to be creatures who pretty much take positive and go, that's cool, that's as it should be. But negative, that might be something that'll kill me in the woods. That little rustling in the bushes, I need to pay way more attention to that than to everybody here who's being really cool. So this is going to stick with me, right? And that has turned into negativity is like just attaches and it stays on longer, and, you know, your own, even if you're the source of that. So like things that should like be, you know, reinforcements for you can sometimes like just kind of wash over. Like you said, you feel like some indifference when you know you shouldn't. It sucks, but like I always just remember the one of the first Street Fighter 2 champion, Tomo Ohira in America, walked away from the game because he described how whenever he won, he got to a point where winning, all he felt was no joy, no happiness, no elation, just relief that he did not lose. And when he lost, it was excruciating. So,
okay, fuck.
You're happy about the win, you're sad about the loss is how we start, but eventually you win, and now this is the baseline, and you feel nothing but, thank God I didn't lose, oh God, you know? But the actual losses were just like, I can't handle how much loathing I feel right now. So he just walked away, you know?
So for me, I actually think like the joy I experience when making videos is literally making the video. Like I love still to this day, I love making videos, and I love when a piece comes together right, and I love when, I think this paragraph has really effectively captured my love of this certain thing. To the point that now I really genuinely view everything after hitting upload as a kind of white noise. Because at this point, I know my videos are going to do well enough to support me to keep electricity in my computer and food on my table. Like, that's not, after 8 years, that's not a super concern anymore. And thank you to everyone who watches my stuff, including this podcast. I appreciate it. But to me, it's like the stuff that comes after upload, like I think the stuff that, you know, a lot of people, which in total fairness view as like the make or break. I think it's Araki in his manga of theory and craft books. He said something that really got me years ago, and it was how you should never dwell on past successes or failures. And he's like, because you should learn what you can from them, and you should move on to the next thing. And I think there is like, that might sound crazy because it's like, oh, but if I win something big, I want to feel great about it. And like, I've been there as well, you know, like I understand when like it feels like you get a big win. But when I think of the videos that really blew up for me and the ones that like I was like really riding high off, it does fuck you up in different ways, because then you go into the next one being like, so I gotta top that. Do I?
Right.
That sucks.
Comparison points. Yep. You're a series of dots that you have to overcome each time. Is
with the new video that I'm starting. It's kind of like there's no comparison to the video I just put out because they're so fucking different, and I'm not even really I'm kind of happy that the old video is like in the rear view, and like even I was streaming on Friday and people were saying like, oh, I love the video or whatever, and I was kind of like, yeah, you know what? it's done. Like I'm out of there. I'm not there anymore.
That's it, man. Like what you're describing that Iraqi mentioned, and and the idea of just like loving the process is something that my teacher, I remember back in the day, called drawing for the garbage bin, right? Like sketching for the trash can. Like it doesn't matter. It's just to get the process out, to feel comfortable with that and get good at that. And like there have been these incredible figures that like there's some like insider art, it's kind of like an artist who just like they found someone, an artist who like had a house full of paintings that he just never showed anybody, just inside the walls, just like board, like canvas and like thousands. And they're just like, yeah, I just did it for myself. I didn't really feel like, and it's just like, it's kind of like the process is something that like, if you love that, then whatever comes of it is not your like, if it succeeds or if it fails, it doesn't matter because you're enjoying this process, right? If you're only thinking about the process as a means to an ends, then when it fails and when it falls short, you're going to hate it and quit a lot easier.
Yeah, I really, really agree with that. A lot of the times I kind of think of art as like good art is a byproduct of a good process, And like, obviously there's struggle that comes with art. There's all these different kind of decisions you have to make. And, it can take a lot of ambition and foresight and vision. But ultimately, I read this book recently. It was so fucking good. It was called Unreasonable Hospitality. And it was about a guy who runs like one of the best restaurants in the world. And it's like just an autobiography of him and how he runs it. And he had this line where he's like, it was basically the idea of getting 3 stars from the New York Times or something like that. Like aiming for, and so
like
they know what
rating.
exactly. And they know what the critic looks like. Like every kitchen in New York has like a photo of the New York Times. And so I had this chapter and it was kind of like about, do we do anything different if the critic comes in? And he's like, that's like a Super Bowl. That's like a team in the Super Bowl suddenly playing 2 times better because they're in the Super Bowl. The things that are going to win them the Super Bowl are probably the fundamentals that brought them to the Super Bowl.
Fundamentals,
and I think
win
it's kind of the same.
championships.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's kind of the same thing with like art and creativity and stuff. It's like the 1,000 small things you build up and all the little things you get good at, they're ultimately what brings you like the big victories, as opposed to kind of being like, how do I make a successful video?
Right. Right. Exactly. And when it comes to art and creativity, who better than Genius Kojumbo?
Author of the world-renowned text The Genius Gene. That's what his autobiography was called, wasn't there, or something like that?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But yes, right. All the little fundamentals. You take the little baby steps. You take your snatchers and your Policenauts in order to get your Metal Gear Solids and your Death Strandings, where all these years later we still don't know what the fuck you're talking about, but god damn it, I'm paying attention.
Man, Kojima, there is no one. I don't think there's a single other artist where I look at Kojima sometimes and I'm like, you, sir, are a fucking genius. And then he'll do something and I'll be like, not that fragile. And I'll be like, what?
yeah, exactly. Did you know that the S in Strand stands for Strand? Just the level of just wordplay and like on his own shit. He loves his shit so much.
Yeah,
it's incredible. And like, that was the kind of the thought. Is like, yo, this dude. Let's take a look.
Okay, interesting.
Let's take a look.
For those who might be unfamiliar, Woolie's recommendation last month,
yes,
Policenauts, and I had not played Policenauts as of a week ago for reasons already explained. I have beaten Policenauts.
Okay, what did you know in advance? Take me through it.
Very little. I knew that it was a visual novel-esque game. I knew that there are some visuals from Policenauts that have become quite iconic, especially in the like kind of PC 98 sort of community. There's the one of the guy you play as, Jonathan Ingram, and he has his like feet up on the desk.
Yeah,
and he's kind of
exactly. So I think the best reference point for anybody who has no idea what it is if you've played Metal Gear Solid 1, there's a moment when you're first talking to Otacon, when you meet him, and as he's describing Japanese animes, it cuts to footage of an anime, and you're seeing like space and ships, and it's Policenauts footage. You're watching footage from this game, which Kojima made a couple years prior in 1994. So he used that to describe what anime was, and then it cuts back to, of course, Otacon in the lab before the ninja shows up.
So yeah, I knew not a whole lot about it. For some reason, I think I watched a review of it years and years ago, and the knowledge that there are an unusual amount of bouncing titties in this game.
I mean, look, man, and if you take it back to Metal Gear Solid, you see you got to watch for the guard with the walk animation that's a little different from the rest, That swaying booty is there. It's a part of this. And look, it's photosynthesis. She needs her skin to absorb.
People don't get how badly Quiet needs to wear the little bikini.
Stop complaining. Don't you get it?
So you're happy with a woman choking to death because she can't get enough plant sunlight or something?
You'd rather she just starve. You'd rather she just not breathe then.
Oh, no, I get it. You're a misogynist. I get it.
Loud and clear. So this is just like, the building, the dominoes. You click the small domino, right?
Well, like, that's one thing about this game, and like with a lot of Kojima's back catalog. Have you ever looked into like the old Metal Gear games?
Yeah,
and, like a lot of the Metal Gear, and it's like you see these same set pieces repeat over and over and over and over, like the guiding the missile around the maze. By Metal Gear Solid 2, that was like that dude's fourth or fifth time doing that.
And characters, right?
So okay, there's just a character in this called Meryl.
Yeah.
And she's a tough military woman with curly red hair who used to be in Foxhound. I know that Meryl wasn't in Foxhound in Metal Gear Solid. Okay. Oh, wait, was she?
No,
she wasn't. No,
she wasn't, but she participated in the Zanzibar incident, and she's like, yeah, I'm here. It's me. It's Meryl Silverberg, actually, it's crazy.
So I have never actually talked too much about Metal Gear Solid in any form online ever. I don't think.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is interesting because I am actually a huge Metal Gear Solid fan.
Yeah.
I love Metal Gear Solid. Metal Gear Solid 2 particularly, I think that might be a top 10 games for me.
Okay, yes. I mean, for anyone, like, I think, we can establish, like, I'm a giant Kojima mark. I have a shelf dedicated to all his shit downstairs and just, like, played all of those and go in hard and get very excited whenever something new gets announced because he just makes the wildest, craziest shit, and it's so clearly his signature more than any other game's, like, video game creator. I feel like he's the most distinct signature. You can watch a trailer for Zone of the Enders 2 that he directed and feel that he directed it without even being told,
And I would say with Policenauts, I think there is a lot of what I love of Kojima in this game, and also quite a bit that I find frustrating about him.
Yeah,
because there is just some of the storytelling is insane, and some of it's brilliant.
Yeah,
like some of it is okay. So
the version you played, was it the PlayStation one?
It was the PlayStation 1 version, I believe, the Slow Beef translation.
Yes, so shout outs to Slow Beef, one of the godfathers of Let's Play, who worked on and had that translation ready to go. So
So I did do a little research, and from what I could hear, there was actually a really, really like modern, very solid port of the Sega Saturn version of Policenauts released about a year ago.
Yep. Okay.
I didn't. I kind of messed around with that for a little bit. I'm not the most technically minded, and I just couldn't get it running, and I needed to play this game, so I went with the PlayStation version.
Yeah.
I also had a little peek in at the PC 98 version.
Okay.
Have you ever seen what that looks like?
I think I've seen some screenshots of it where it's like much like it doesn't look as nice, right? Like it's the visually
So
downgraded
I would
somewhat.
say it's a taste thing.
Okay.
I'm a huge fan of PC 98 visuals.
Okay.
That super dense, like pixel art,
Heavy pixel.
real high res pixel art. The kind of pixel art you couldn't do on a Super Nintendo, you know. And you had machines like the Sega Saturn and the PC 98 that like they were built to do 32-bit pixel art, and that doesn't really make too much sense, but it's like these were 32-bit consoles of that generation going all in on pixel art, whereas PlayStation N64 all in on 3D.
So Kojima's other game, Snatcher, has the exact same thing where there's like different versions of it that some have fully realized pixel art, and others are, you know, much more like modern in how they're drawn and colored. But like, and I know I appreciate awesome pixel art as well. I think there's something that you unfortunately lose where a lot of these games were meant to be played on a CRT TV.
Yes,
And,
absolutely.
you know, and like the blur and the haze and the Vaseline sometimes of the screen, like especially looking back at like old Metal Gear and some of the codec portraits, you can see like, oh, this doesn't look the same on a modern HD TV. When you add the CRT like brightness and like extra and filter to it, the art pops in a different way.
Yeah. So I was at Paper Bag Animator, our friend Sean's house, about a year or two ago, and he had a CRT, and he just threw on Final Fantasy VII, and man, that is a different game through a CRT.
Yeah. There's a Twitter account that shows you the difference between CRT and modern.
Really?
Yeah. I need to remember what it was called. Okay, so I'm going to send you, here it is. This is an account called CRT Pixels on Twitter, and you can take a look at the comparison points. So Symphony of the Night, you can see a picture of how
oh my god,
how Dracula
night
looks,
and day.
right, on both, and it's incredible. And if you go to just the main page as well, the top sticky tweet on CRT Pixels shows you just the difference with how these things looked back in the day on a CRT and how the sprites were intended to be seen with a different lighting setup.
It's fucking beautiful. Like,
look at how soft Ryu looks in the Super Turbo.
I know, yeah.
It's incredible.
I genuinely used to think this stuff was kind of like Emperor's New Clothes kind of things until I saw it in person. That's when it became like, oh, like there's so much depth to it. Man, yeah, it's fucking cool. So I guess, okay, Woolie, on the subject of the look of Policenauts, it's difficult for me to say it looks worse. So here's a screen grab from the Sega Saturn PlayStation version. We'll have these in there. And like it looks like a kind of late 80s anime.
Yeah, for sure.
And then this is the PC 98 version.
Yep. Okay. Yep.
And the PC 98 one definitely looks more retro. I would say in terms of atmosphere and art direction and lighting, I think it's fucking beautiful.
I agree. Yes, I prefer that as well. You have completely made that point very strongly. In fact, that portrait specifically is so cool that was the one that I used when I did my Let's Play of this back in the day. That was the basis for the portrait art of me sitting in that pose. So I'll send you a picture of that right there. It's gorgeous. I completely agree.
Oh, that's so sick. So like, I think people should check out both versions, just see what they look like, because I'm a big mark for the PC 98. Have you gone down that rabbit hole much, Woolie?
So not much. I remember when I was trying to play like the original MSX version of Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, and you know, going back to some of the old Kojima stuff, I was trying to get some of that working, but in this case, for the longest while, Policenauts was something. Yeah, I was talking to Slow Beef about it, about playing through it, and this was something that, like, yeah, when he finished working on it, I was like, okay, let me go with this. It was set up in a way where I was able to run it. Again, the translation was the best we had at the time. I didn't know that a year ago, they had something more recent that had been updated. But for me, when I played this many years back, this was the best way to do it,
Yeah, well, and I think this is still a great way to do it. Like, I think the Slow Beef translation is great, and getting like a Sega, getting a PS1 emulator versus a Sega Saturn emulator it's a little bit of a different thing. And then, like, with the Sega Saturn version, you also have to patch, and I think you have to change a few lines of code. And
I had
look.
I had a sitting working copy of this ready to go, and
yep.
that simplifies our lives,
Exactly. So, I'll link you, Woolie, a video from Thor High Heels about the visuals of the PC-98. Fantastic video.
Cool.
But basically, the PC-98 was just this machine designed for high density pixel art. That is why it existed. And some of the fucking beautiful shit that exists on that console, it's like incredible.
Hell yeah.
Okay, so in terms of Policenauts as a game, I would say, yeah, it was the best of times. It was the blurst of times.
Yep.
Okay. Interesting.
Extremely cursed.
I'm interested to see you agreeing with all this, because there's a part of me coming into that being like, I hope this isn't like Woolie's like secret favorite game, and I'm gonna come in and be like, I got some problems with this, because now, okay, I think I'm coming in a little too harsh, because there is a lot I actually really liked about this game.
Okay.
And one of the biggest was the opening scene. Basically, the game starts off and you are Jonathan Ingram. You're this like detective, and it's like 2045 or something like that. And it's like really, you start off, and the very first section of gameplay for this game is just a still shot of Jonathan's desk. And it so adeptly tells you everything you need to know about this guy, just from the shit on his desk and the newspaper clippings. It builds an entire fucking world, and you're just clicking around on all these little things, and it's like, oh, he's got a photo of himself and a woman. Oh, it's his ex-wife. It's kind of fucking weird that he has a photo of his ex-wife on his desk. Oh, he was frozen for 25 years, and when he got lost in space, frozen for 25 years, and when he woke up, his ex-wife was with someone new. That sucks, dude.
Right.
And then you feel bad for him, and it's like, oh shit. And then like you see that he was a member of this squad called the Policenauts, and all the old Policenauts people he worked with have all gone off and have all lived separate lives and have all grown old, and he's the same age.
Man out of time.
Man out of time. And they do it like he's smoking cigarettes that are like old style cigarettes. He doesn't have like automatic dimming glass on his windows. He just has regular old blinds. This is a dude from back in time.
Yeah. And versus the breaker cigarettes, I believe they were. No, I think too, like, there's a lot there. Oh God, there's so much, but like, I want to like lay out there that I'm not sitting here like this, going like, oh boy, here's my favorite thing ever, and I'm throwing it at you. Some of these recommendations, like this one, are, John, you need to see this shit.
And you're right. I am so wild. Glad I saw this shit, because like, we'll get to it, but there is also just a point in this. Okay, we're not going to get too spoilery initially, but there's just a moment with an astronaut about halfway through this. You know the one I'm talking about?
I believe I do.
You're just like, oh, okay. It's a lot. So, and from there, basically, Jonathan Ingram gets visited by the door opens up, and basically, like, you play the messages on his answering machine. He's struggling to pay rent. He very clearly has no real direction in life. He hasn't quite let go of the life he used to have, and then all of a sudden he gets a knock on his door, and it's his ex-wife, and she's now 50 years old, and mighty fine looking 50. Fair play to that woman,
Lorraine.
Lorraine, and she basically tells him that her current husband has gone missing, and he has left her like a few pills and half a leaf, and there's something fishy going on.
So in the background of this, and I hope, I don't know about, like, for me, I can tell you what I was going through my brain, but like, I'm hoping you kind of felt it too, is like, I know enough about how Kojima stuff is run, how it works and runs, that you're like, this man loves film. He loves his American cinema, and he loves to take the things that he's experienced and bring them in wholesale, and then preserve it, and then launch it into space, right? Like possibly into the future, but usually into space is what he does. And so you're watching the actual film noir. A dame walks into my detective agency.
Yes,
see, like the full thing, unironically.
Which is like, which in fairness is not like, that's not just Kojima. Like that has become a full-on just staple of noir media,
and he's playing it straight.
Yeah, completely straight. There are moments later on that I feel like are more specific, and it's like, Kojima, that's just Die Hard. That is just. That is just the last 4 minutes of Die Hard.
You see them in the car driving together.
It's like, that's Lethal Weapon, but no, there's one later.
Fucking, it's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, there's one moment later when I was like, now Kojima, I think we need to talk about the difference between homage and plagiarism, because that's fucking crazy, bro.
The man loves Lethal Weapon, all right? He really does.
So anyway, you have this like very pathos-ridden conversation with Lorraine, and like she doesn't want to come too close to you because she doesn't want you to see her hag-withered face, even though she's looking pretty good to me. But okay, you know, anime. It's anime. You know when any woman
50.
is over 30 in anime, and they're like, "Whoa, what happened?"
It's the screenshot from Mega Man Battle Network with the old man who says, "I'm 31 years old."
So, and I think at this point, I am really drinking the atmosphere of this game. And like, well, you know me, atmosphere goes a long way.
Yes.
Like, if a game can get me with its atmosphere, I'll put up with a lot of fucking bullshit.
And I believe at this point too, you should also be drinking in the soundtrack by Tappy, who did the music for like Metal Gear stuff in the future as well, until unfortunately a disgraced moment in Metal Gear Solid 2. But a plagiarism moment happened, and that's why the Metal Gear Solid theme no longer is the one we recognize, unfortunately.
You know what, Woolie? I'm going to say... Okay, I'm going to take a bold stance here, all right? Because as far as I know, no other YouTuber has done this recently. Plagiarism's wrong.
Huh. Shit. Damn, that's crazy. That's wild. How can you say something so brave yet so controversial?
It's because I'm real.
Oh, fuck. That's going to come back, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Oh, shit.
I'm sure I just signed my own death warrant in some degree. But,
Philly Anime Kid lives on. All right.
Look, he's been living in here for a long time.
Rent free.
But my only point being is like, look, plagiarism's wrong. Could we not just have put it in Metal Gear Solid 4 just a little?
No! Get it!
Just a little flourish.
All right, look.
like Ocelot, Liquid Ocelot gives it.
All right, listen. The cliff notes on this is just that music when it comes to a swell. You cannot use that song anymore because it turns out that's ripped off from an old Russian like historical piece, and it was taken pretty much wholesale. And Kojima was invited onto a radio show where they said, did you know that this song was used elsewhere? And they're filming as he's very awkwardly realizing, oh no, And he's like, what, really? Can you play that again? And they're like, yeah, this is a song that we, and he's like, oh, I didn't know. Okay, thank you very much. And then they just remove that from ever being a thing. And it sucks because, yeah, it was pretty much the entire theme.
And removing it, right thing to do, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time,
and I, you know,
one tiny little piece of plagiarism in Metal Gear Solid. You're at the top of the submarine. You're both punching each other. Just a light dusting of little plagiarism, Woolie. Would it have been so bad?
So the problem is that now it plays the beginning part with the right, and every time that part plays, whether it's Smash Brothers or any of the future games or whatever, your brain starts to auto-complete the theme that's missing. And now it's just gone entirely. And you're like, oh, it's like I've been listening to a soundtrack of an album, and you know the song that comes after the next one. And so the one ends, and you're ready, your brain prepares for the next, but it's gone, and it's gone forever. So there's always that phantom pain of the soundtrack that never plays.
Kojima set up that interview. We've been worked! The son of a bitch worked us again!
Hey. I don't want to take anything from the Metal Gear Solid 4 has that the little the guitar plucking of the title screen is so beautiful.
It's great. No, it's great. It's really, really good.
But anyways, yes, Tappy created the music for Policenauts.
But like it's the soundtrack, it's like the little pockmarks on Ingram's shitty wall of his shitty office, and like it's all working in concert in a way that like you're fucking there. You know, like it's beautiful. And so then you have this super kind of happy, kind of sad exchange between Lorraine and John, and it's like this is their first time meeting in 25 years, and it's all fucked up and weird because he's still back where he was, and meanwhile she's after going off and having a life and a family, and like and so she leaves anyway, and he's like, I'll think about it, and he's like, he's still in love with her, and he's watching her leave, and he's watching her out the blinds of the window, and she gets in her car, and next thing, boom, her fucking car blows up, and it's like, okay, yeah, this is a Hideo Kojima game, all right.
Yep. Intro established.
Yep, and so then you run out into the alley, and if this game's primary format is visual novel, its secondary one is light gun game, and you engage in a shootout in the middle of the street, and it's super basic. On PlayStation, you are pretty much just with the PlayStation's D-pad, moving a cursor around the screen and hitting fire and reload.
And it's pretty much an FMV game, right? Like, there's very little variability for what can occur, but you point the target, you shoot at the thing, and wait for the gun animation to play out, you know?
Yeah. And it's basic. It is very, very basic. Yes. And so I think there is a way to make this kind of like 2D like light gun game really captivating, and it takes a lot of work, but it's like, do you ever play those old 2D games like say Wild Arms or something like that?
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Wild Arms fucking awesome. Do you know what's so fun about Wild Arms, or like a lot of those games? If you shoot and you hit something in the background, that thing goes and just fires everywhere, and it's like, that's what I love about like Virtua Cop and Are
you thinking of Wild Arms or Wild Guns? Wild Arms is the RPG with the whistling theme.
I was thinking of Wild Guns. That's not picking up on my mic, so I'm just seeing.
Oh no! Okay, do.
No, I've never played Wild Arms. I've always wanted to.
Okay, it's a very cool RPG. Wild Guns is the shooter you're thinking of. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But like maybe like Virtua Cop is a better example.
Sure.
Because Virtua Cop is this light gun game, and me and my cousin used to just play through it over and over when we were little. And the fun part about it is like wherever you shoot on that screen, it is fucking exploding. If you're in an office and you shoot a bunch of it's just and like it's not like just a silly little extra thing. It's what's making you feel like you have onus in this world.
Yes.
Like this is the world reacting to you.
The visceral reaction of the gun in your hand shaking as the guy in Virtual Cop is getting hit and is going is huge.
Yeah, and like learning the different parts of the scenery you can blow up, and if you shoot the tires, it's like cars do backflips and all this kind of shit.
Juice.
Very little of that is in Policenauts.
No, none at all, I would say. There's no juice.
There's one or two little bits in this first section, and there's the odd glass break, but for the most part, it's you hovering a cursor over an empty screen and clicking.
It is a visual novel. Yeah.
And I would say it never evolves past feeling like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It is a visual novel that has made a shooter inside of its visual novel engine. You know what I mean? That's almost
and it feels like it.
Yeah, the click here to investigate the desk is the same as shoot here to hit the guy, and it's not that robust. And when it gets more challenging later, it just gets like more frustrating. Because it just means the damage that you can't really avoid as you get shot at is just happening faster. You know, so spam harder, and it's really just,
So, I don't know, did you figure out the trick to the combat in this game?
Eventually I did, but it's been so long that I kind of forget what we ended up doing.
So basically, if you're playing this game in the combat sections, because some of them later on get fucking brutal, like really hard.
Yeah, I'm thinking of one against a mech that's just bullshit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you hit R1, if there is a target to your right, it will snap to the target on your right. If you hit L1, if there's a target on your left, it'll snap to the target on your left.
Okay.
So with this, you become godlike.
Right.
Because you're just hitting R1 and like it lowers the difficulty a lot. It actually feels much better because you are. So you know the way Snatcher's shooting works. It makes it much closer to that.
Right.
And I think it actually works better because it's like it's just so cumbersome dragging that slow ass cursor across the screen.
No, it is much more practical to have the target painted over with that button. The thing is, I was just checking for a reference point, right? And it's interesting because Wild Guns came out in 1994. Policenauts came out in 1994.
So we'll get to this in a little bit, but after beating this game, one of the things I was shocked about is just how old it is.
It's insane how good and crazy the visual novel and voice acting and all of that coming together in such a complex way in the year of Super Nintendo games, you know?
The year after A Link to the Past.
Right? It's wild.
Crazy.
This was happening. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And so then anyway, you have a little shootout with this dude, and he runs into an alley. And this is where some of my problems with the game started. Because what you now have to do is click around this alley. And I don't think it's a case of even I could be wrong here. There's some sections where you need to click on the right thing. There's a lot of sections where you just got to click on all the things.
Pixel hunting.
And I fucking hate pixel hunting.
What's your experience with Curse of Monkey Island or Indiana Jones?
I was actually a big Day of the Tentacle fan back in the day. And big Simon the Sorcerer fan, loved that. So like I have experience with point and click adventures, but I find I really like them. They can be really like I replayed Day of the Tentacle maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and I was like, this holds up fucking great. This is awesome. I beat it in about like it was weird because I remember spending so long playing that when I was little, and I was able to get through it so much more, which means I'm way smarter than I used to be. Fucking take that, young John, you idiot.
We also had more time on our hands back then, you know? Like,
we sure did.
I didn't say it when I recommended it, but I should have, because it's just been too long, but like, grab a guide for this game. I don't know if you used one, but I hope you did, because it really would help smooth that out a lot.
So I did not use a guide.
Okay.
And do you know what?
I should have mentioned.
I will only use a guide if I really feel like my enjoyment of a game is being destroyed by like just some bad decisions or whatever. And there was one or two times where I really just got so frustrated with it. But for the most part, I did find that once I kind of honed in on the game's logic, I could pretty much understand what it wanted me to do. So basically, for every dialogue scene, you want to go down the list and you want to hit every dialogue option twice. Because most of the time, for whatever reason, characters won't give up all the information straight away. You have to like select certain dialogue options multiple times, sometimes even like 5 or 6 times, I would say.
Other times if like things aren't moving forward, I remember you just had to change locations and then initiate the next, progression point.
This is a big part of the frustration of this game. It's like there is a lot of like you more so wrestling with the game's systems rather than figuring anything out.
Okay.
And I found some of it was kind of interesting because I felt like some of the conversations, it's like, you have these big lists of topics and then they mention something and a new topic comes up and you're like, okay, I know I need to circle back around to that. And you press it and then you're like, I don't think that's all the information about this. I'm going to go press it again. And then, oh, wait, maybe does this change how that conversation works? And you go back and there is a logic you can kind of Tarzan swing your way like from, conversation to conversation, and it's interesting, but in some of the more frustrating sections it's kind of mind-numbing. It's kind of like, I understand there's someone in this basement that I need to shoot, I'm clicking on all these pillars to make the game go forward, and it's frustrating.
You're totally right, and I'm remembering too, I made liberal use of a save state,
there was a point I started doing that as well.
Absolutely, yeah. It's old, it's clunky, and it's Kajumbo figuring it out.
It is Kajumbo Junior. But like having learned how old it is, because I was thinking this was like late 90s, like early 2000s maybe. Learning how old it is, I feel a lot more forgiving about some of this stuff.
Yeah,
because when I think about what this game is, like playing this the year after playing A Link to the Past, this would have been completely fucking mind-blowing. Like just, oh my God.
Right. I didn't know video games could look, sound, and behave this way. My concept of things was the NES platforming games and top-down into the Super Nintendo and Genesis, Like I had no idea that there was these cinematic experiences happening, but they were. And if I'm not mistaken, I think this is his third or second game. Like he made Metal Gear 1, and then I think he made this, and then he made like Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake. I think that was the order or something to that effect.
And where does Snatcher come in that?
98 or so?
I'm very curious to play Snatcher after playing this.
Yeah. So I might be wrong on that, but it's something to that effect. But this was one of the first things he's ever made, essentially.
Okay. So the next scene that really stood out to me is you get on a rocket ship to the Beyond, which is a kind of like man-made satellite. I'm
wrong. Sorry. Let me correct that immediately. Okay. The first game he directed was Metal Gear. The second game he directed was Snatcher in '88. Then
whoa,
right, which, and I guess that got updated later. That must be why. Yeah, so in the Snatcher, the original version in '88, then in 1990 Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake and SD Snatcher, and then '94 Policenauts. So autocorrect immediately. Yeah, I was wrong.
I could be wrong here. I think he actually has a pre-Metal Gear game where you play as a penguin.
Yes, Penguin Adventure. He was an assistant director. on that.
Okay, yeah.
And then there's a whole arc for Tokimeki Memorial. So
He worked on Tokimeki Memorial?
he produced Tokimeki Memorial Volume 1, Volume 2, and he supervised Volume 3.
Huh. Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Konami.
Konami.
They got you working. They put you on whatever, man.
Yeah. So you board a rocket ship to this like kind of colony called the Beyond, which is like this outer space colony, and you take a seat next to the most comically evil man I have ever fucking seen. He's in this like gold tan suit. He has this long flowing purple hair. He has no pupils. His eyes are pure white. And it's like, wow, I wonder if this guy's the bad guy.
He's got the evil man deep voice, Tony fucking Redwood. And he's... At
any point he could go, oh, and it would make total sense.
Right? And he's a frozoner.
Yep. A frozoner. And you just have a very pleasant conversation with him about air travel sickness. And he's just really nice.
Yeah. So the setting that's establishing everything here, like around that time, as you're leaving Earth, I feel like is when Kojima's like throwing a bunch of like world building, establishing moments and stuff. And does he have a conversation with like the flight attendant at this point?
Yes, he does. Okay, and it was at the conversation with the flight attendant that I think the final piece of what this game is kind of slid into place, because basically you call over a flight attendant and it's like just the sexiest anime flight attendant you could possibly imagine. It's crazy. And she begins explaining to you. So you have to go through all the dialogue options because you don't know. Basically, you're just on a big plane and you don't really know what you're meant to do. Yeah. So you're just sitting there and you have all these options, and she is explaining to you how the air conditioning in the plane and in the plane spaceship works, how the toilets work, how her boobs act in zero gravity. And how she doesn't need a bra, and it's like, okay. And it's like the overwhelming, not exposition dump. This is not exposition. This is just science fiction gobbledygook.
and like I think there's a moment where like he goes, "Oh, she's cute, but she's a bit pudgy in the face," and then she's like, and then it's like, what the fuck? He just brings that out, and then she's like, oh, well, no, that's actually because we have moon face. And it's like, what the fuck is moon face? And it's like, oh, it's this thing where the blood like it collects in the face, and people that live out here long enough get larger, pudgier faces. So, it's actually it's not an insult. It's actually quite normal. And I'm like, I thought it sounds like a slur, but it turns out, no, it's just a condition we have out here. It's moon face. It's fine to tell people they look that way.
Our boy, Jonathan Ingram, a
man out of time.
I don't know that there's a time that this dude should be wandering free or allowed speak to women, or just there's this like there's so many lines of dialogue he says, and it's like, oh my fucking god. And it's like there's one in particular, and I just thought that's one of the grossest things I've ever heard. Yeah. Where he's like, where you can look at a woman's face, and he goes, she has that really flirty face, like most teenage girls do. And it's like, no, that's not. Yep.
Yeah. And again, most of the time when cleavage is on the screen, there will be a prompt or some way to interact and see what happens in zero gravity, as described,
Yep. And like, look, it is what it is. It's a game out of time. It is very clearly trying to be, I guess we'll say, adult in its own way. And nowadays it's a little, it's not the best. It's perhaps aged a little bit. Michelle sure had a lot of fun giving me shit over this game.
Oh, yeah. No, Larry David noises. Just, yeah, and the thing with that, though, is it goes places. that train of thought, right? The romance angle, the madness of how this dude acts and talks to ladies. It's just anyway, well, go on.
But yeah, there was one bit in particular which I gotta share, where so I'm playing this game, and like, as you know, me and Michelle are kind of in the middle of a bunch of life stuff, and kind of, you know, we've been looking for a house, and as I'm sure you're familiar with, Woolie, looking for a house comes with a lot of very deep and thorough conversations about what you both want out of life.
Yeah.
And, you know, and so like Michelle comes into me late one night, and we're kind of talking about like our current prospects, and, you know, we kind of sit down, I turn off the TV, and we kind of, for about, I'd say 45 minutes to an hour, we just kind of go through it all. We kind of come out together and like, okay, I think we know what we're doing, and I'm really glad we're doing this together. Like, this is if we can pull this off, this is going to be really great, but either way, I'm just glad we're doing for this. And she's like, yeah. And she's like, oh, what are you playing? And I turn on the TV, and I forgot what point I had turned the TV on, or turned the TV off at. Woolie, this was the image that awaited us.
Perfect timing.
And I just look back over at Michelle.
Yep.
And I get one of these, Woolie.
Work, is it? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm like, the podcast is done.
Like I said, you know. John, you need to see this shit.
Yeah. But it was there was a lot of that throughout this game.
Hey, yo, we're hanging out with my old partner Ed. How you doing? Let's take a look at the classic, like, oh, look at my family, right? Take a look at the family photo. Check out my daughter. She's a ballerina. Right? Just booty shot. Like, what are we doing, guys? It's madness. Yes. Yeah. No, anyway.
You know, when you meet someone's teenage daughter, generally the appropriate way to act is not to Tex Avery wolf howl at the fucking moon and start perving. Oh my god, it's yeah, and, you know, it's weird because it's like at some point it's like, this is dumb, and then, you know, at some point it's like, well, this is inappropriate, but then from another point it's like, I want to relate to this dude, because like I was so pulled in by this whole setup and like the whole scene with the desk. But he's constantly being like a fucking sex pest. And it's like,
and various, and it depends. Like, some of the people that he's talking to are just like, no response. And then there's like Meryl, who's just like, oh, you think you can handle this, you know? Or like, there's literally just a basic instinct moment, right?
There sure is,
you know. So Chris is there, like, they're just, everyone is there. There's various degrees of like yeah, sure, dude, go for it. But it's wild how constant it is. I completely agree.
Yeah, and like it's this hard, like real kind of hard sci-fi. I think this is hard sci-fi. I don't know the fuck it is. But it's like this real, it's a science fiction that takes itself so seriously, that delves into the mortality of man, that delves into like man's place in space and whether we should be there, and if God held us back too much, and all this stuff about like accepting your own past or leaving your own past behind. And then there's also a scene where you play bongo drum on a woman's boobies because a fly landed on it.
Fan service.
So yeah, you know, it's just it is what it is. But so I would say for the first half of the game, I was really trying to like it.
You know,
and I felt like
Sorry, I'm just thinking of like, you know, I as someone who has just discovered the existence of Nike, Goddess of Victory, this phone game that is a shooter that as you shoot, it's a cover shooter, and then you have the anime girls who jiggle with the firing of the gun as they shoot into the distance.
Oh my god!
And as someone who's just discovered the existence of this, all I can say is, you know, wherever you go, there you are. Right?
Wow, that is a powerful use of that saying. But look, Kojima had some ideas about women. He made this game and instantly got better and never made another problematic woman ever again in anything ever. So it is what. Look, I'm a fan of anime babes, and I would say there are some anime babes in this game. It's just how it occasionally treats them is weird.
Listen, Snake needs to get that helicopter back to Mother Base, and Quiet needs a comfortable position to sit in, and sometimes she can't quite figure out the most comfortable seating. All right?
She's got to stretch.
Let her stretch!
She's got to stretch. She stays so still for hours.
Snipers are really good at being stiff and still, so they got to limber up. You got a problem with her limbering up?
Do you want women to have sore muscles? I don't. I'm a big supporter of.
You hate women. That's what it is. You hate them.
That's what it comes back to.
You want them to have stiff necks and backs. Yes.
Only misogynists have a problem with how Hideo Kojima writes women. That's what this comes down to. I'm gonna say it. But okay, so for the first half of the game, there's points where I'm into it, and there's points where I'm really struggling. There's pixel hunting. There is trying to figure out Kojima's bizarre fucking logic. There's like all this kind of stuff, and I'm liking it, but like it's moving quite slow as well. But there's moments that I'm really into. For all we've said about Ed's teenage daughter, I think the whole sequence of visiting Ed in his home. Yeah. Ed is your old partner from back in the day, and he's been like confined. He's too much of a loose cannon, and he's been confined to some basement, like, and you know, all this kind of stuff. And you're kind of reuniting with him, and you bring back his love of justice. Is basically what happened.
It's just Murtaugh, right? It's Murtaugh, and you're watching Space Murtaugh as your Riggs going to hang out with him.
You're watching Space Murtaugh. You're also watching Bruce Willis's walkie-talkie friend from Die Hard 1.
Right. Yeah.
Who is a black man who is scared to fire a gun.
Ed is... Well, anyway, he's really cool, though.
I love Ed.
Yeah.
Ed's great. So... You're kind of the pieces are coming together. It seems like a big pharmaceutical company. Well, Kojima and acronyms, dude.
Yeah.
What's going on there?
Every act had like a different, like Act 3 drug, Act 4 soul or moon, or you know, like this. It's a lot of that MGS4 kind of like Solid Sun, Liquid Sun stuff.
Another thing I just fucking loved is like, so Redwood, the evil man you meet on the plane, who is very clearly evil, except for the fact that you actually just have a really nice conversation with him, and you sorry, just you meet him and he's in the police station and he's sitting there. And like, it's basically like this. This is pretty much how the conversation with him in the police station starts. It's me from the plane. Everything I said was a lie. Fuck you. And he immediately turns into the biggest fucking asshole, like straight away.
Yep.
And there's no in between, and it's so weird.
He's also working on a fucking improvised explosive.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah,
he's
man.
like, if I tried to kill you with this, which wire would you cut? And it's like, you were really nice on the plane. Which wire? Like,
oh god, they waste no time. And like right down the hall from him, you go meet the chief, right? Gates. Right? And like and then I'm like, you look at this old man and you're like, oh, Solidus has sat down.
yes.
Right? President Sears himself, the old distinguished man who's like, hello there, officer. You know? Yeah.
I am mysterious yet supportive.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And will most certainly not align with an evil faction later on. Like,
you're sure you said you saw what you saw then? This is most concerning.
or my favorite, it's like you basically go to him and it's like after another like hour or two play, you basically have all this evidence that Redwood is trying to murder you. Like,
can we just update it to say this is not a whodunit, but it's a why-done-it?
Yeah.
It's a why-done-it because fuck, man, they're
but
not.
With Gates, the police chief, you're like, I think Redwood is trying to kill me. He's gonna murder me, and he's like, but Redwood's such a good man.
Why would he do a thing like that? Yeah.
Murder. Well, murder's a crime, and he's a police officer, so.
So is it okay to get into some full spoiler territory?
I think, okay, look, if you want to go play Policenauts, I would say if you are interested in a, like, video game that is a part of history in a lot of very interesting ways, go for it. I would say I appreciated Policenauts more than I enjoyed it in some cases.
Yes, this is a museum piece that you take off the wall to see what Kojima was up to a long time ago and see like the bits and pieces that echo back in the future and like how the same ingredients evolve over time. It's a fascinating look at like the same dude with the same directing style, but also its ability to do stuff ahead of its time, which is what he always seems to do.
Oh, absolutely. You know? Like the fact that this exists like when it does is crazy. But yeah, so look, if you want to go, we're gonna get into some spoilers now. We'll drop a timestamp if you want to continue to non-spoilers.
Yeah, the highs are high, the lows are low, and the middles are creamy. You know?
Yeah, so creamy. So, Woolie, it was about the point with the headless astronaut that this game...
Yeah, it starts to fucking... Yeah, I was going to say, right, like, do you think around the time when Gates Becker, who's standing there after the big framing moment occurs, and it's like, oh, looks like you're under arrest for doing something evil, and then the good guy, the police captain, Gates, goes... and lets out a Brian Fury laugh, and everyone around him is like, yep, just another day on the job.
Yeah.
We're doing the good guy thing. Take him away, boys.
And this is where like the pace of the game like picks up significantly, and some of it I love the bomb disposal scene.
Oh, God. Okay. That was one of the hardest for me because I just got, like, I couldn't fucking get it. And I remember safe stating that. That was a brutal moment, I remember.
So I think I got it in about 3 tries.
Okay.
My feeling from, like, looking at the internet and seeing, like, how much shit there was about that was very lucky.
Okay. Yeah. It was rough on my end. The astronaut. So walk me through that again. Like, you walk into the museum.
So basically, you had met an informant, someone who was like basically someone who was kind of like giving you tips about what was happening and like feeding you all this info. And this museum has like statues of you you and the Policenauts from back in the day.
Back in the day.
But you go back at night to meet him, and you can't find him anywhere. And you go over to the Policenauts section, and the heads, the statues of you and Ed, your old partner, are there, and their heads have been removed. And you're like, oh, that's kind of spooky. And then you go back to the main room, and the informant dressed as an astronaut is standing there, or that is to say, there's an astronaut suit standing upright, and it has no head and blood everywhere.
Yeah.
And it is fucking gnarly. It's like, oh no. And so that was, I actually thought, like a really effective piece of horror. And I actually think Kojima, he can do horror, you know, and it only makes like the fact that we never got Silent Hills all the more tragic.
Yeah. Because I'm also reminded of a moment where shit goes sideways, and like you kind of go up to see one of the big mecha suits that that they used to pilot. One of them is like taking off, and like there's just blood coming out of it.
Yeah, and it's such a visceral shot.
It's like this, it's this weird robot that's bleeding, and it's super strange and just like, oh, what the fuck? Mm-hmm. And like, and it's also like a confusing moment for what's happening, and where it's like a body is inside, like it's fucking a crazy one.
Mm-hmm. And this leads to a sequence where you get attacked by thousands of mechanical mosquitoes.
A Black Mirror moment, yeah.
And at this point, it's pretty much like the game is just going full blast. You've basically just hit the second half, and all bets are off. Everything's fucking mental from this point. And it's a lot of fun, honestly. Like, I think that first half is quite slow. In the second half, things really ramp up, and like the actual conspiracy you're dealing with blows up way past drugs into organ harvesting, into a moon base organ harvesting outlet, and it's fucking mad.
So this is the part that I'm like, you need to see the level of escalation here, because it starts out as like some fucker blew my ex-wife up right in front of me, and I gotta get him. And then she also had a missing husband, and what's happening? Where'd he go? And like, you follow the trails, and as you're doing that, you're clearly getting too close to the source, and people start disappearing, informants are getting killed, you know.
So it gets to the point where I think nearly everyone everyone who has like a conversation with you, everyone who has had like a piece of portrait art in the game is probably dead.
Right, like, yeah, poor Dave, who's like, you know, I really love hamburgers, is there bleeding out on the ground going, you know, Jonathan, I never really loved hamburgers.
Yeah. Dave was such a weird character. There's a point where like you ask him, what are your interests? And he just goes, normal person interests. And it's like, what?
But like, it goes from this, like, you know, you're like, oh, bodies are dropping because of this mysterious case, and then you crack open the drug element, and you're like, oh, there's basically a modern day opioid crisis version, except it's happening in space. And it's like, oh, you take half of the fentanyl here, and you take the contin elements over here, and you put them together, and now you can have your continuous release, everyone's getting fucked up on it thing. But they go, like, the bad guys, and the Tokugawa, you know, Zaibatsu is effectively just like, they're not just murderers and drug traffickers, but now they're organ harvesting, and then they throw on child kidnapping, and then they throw on like, every layer of evil just gets so much more crazy, and like, these are like the worst people ever. And then they introduce the fucking rebirthers, I think, or no.
Oh,
yeah, rebirthers, right? And it's like, you go to the party where all the elites and the rich people are hanging out, and they're hanging out with these like celebrity lookalikes. All of these hot models are floating around in there, and it's like, what's going on here? And it's like, oh, so one of the things that they also do in the future with money is they take DNA from celebrities and famous people who've been dead for at least 20 years, clone them and bring them back to life to basically be sex workers.
And that was, I thought, a genuinely fucking awesome piece of world building. Like, I thought that was
horrifying, you know? And like, yeah, and so you just have it on that level of like, oh, these people are the worst in every possible way, and here is your nightmare future technology, and this is
but do you know when they'd said that, do you know the first thing I thought of? That film that's coming out with your man, oh fuck, I'm blanking on the name, Rebel Without a Cause.
What are you thinking of?
Hang on. James Dean.
Okay.
You know there's a new James Dean film coming out?
No, I don't know that.
There is a new... So he's been dead for a long time.
A very long time, yes.
And there is a basically AI, CGI James Dean film coming out.
Like sanctioned by his estate?
Estate, yep.
Here we go. Okay.
And it's like...
Okay.
We don't need to get into how specifically dark that is.
Yeah.
But it's fucking dark. And our boy Hideo Kojima predicted it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Bruce Willis, right, is already doing commercials in Russia because of his degenerative disease. He can't act anymore, but he's got his digital rights up for grabs that he's working with a company to use for you know. So like, it's
to me,
getting
like if
weird.
It is getting weird. To me, like, if an actor is alive and okay with it, I can see but like, the fact that it's like, no, dude, he's fucking dead. He can't, like, it's so weird.
Yeah, so just, like, you get, like, it's, like, every level of conceivable, like, current evil on horror with, like, child trafficking and kidnapping, organ harvesting, and, you know, again, drugs and murder and all the evil cartel fucked up shit that you can imagine. And then you got to grab that future crimes that you didn't know could exist. Here you go. You know, we swabbed a little of your DNA while you weren't paying attention. You know, like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like there's a whole bit with like, oh, Drake apparently would pour hot sauce in his condoms to make sure that no one could, you know, accidentally fucking use them or some wild shit. And it's like, yeah, what if the possible end result was we made a clone in the future actually and raised it in a cage to service people at parties and be a fucking just object, you know? So they all gotta go. Everyone's gotta go. They're the worst. They're fucking.
And I think like,
you know.
they're just like, there's no real limits to anything these people can do, which is kind of fun because I think it does really like establish like, this is you and the few buddies you have versus an impossible system. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of cool.
But they're up in space, which means you can break their bones quickly.
That's true. My God. The amount of detail about the medical issues that space causes, everyone spends so long talking about it.
God, just like Earth return syndrome or something like that, and it's like you're just homesick. You just want to go back home, and it's like, but everything about this game is like being in space is killing humanity.
Yep.
It's not. You're not meant to be off of the Earth. Yeah.
Some of the placement of the exposition dump, like there's this one bit where you're chasing Redwood through a train station, and you just click on a map or something, and next thing, fucking Ed like basically pulls up a stool, and he's like, "Well, you know, these trains have actually been here. There actually was a mining colony here about 30 years ago, and the trains from these are actually repurposed." Meanwhile, a literal murderous cyborg with his blood leading behind a pillar is and you're like, Jesus fucking Christ.
Thanks for the codec call, Mei Ling. I appreciate the info dump. I'm in the middle of a boss fight.
Yeah, I think if you want to understand the tedium of this game, imagine if every codec call in a Metal Gear Solid was not optional and just text.
In real time. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yep. So like it all culminates with basically like a big skyscraper assault, and it's basically the whole colony is cylindrical, and there's a giant skyscraper in the center that runs from the top of it to the bottom of it, and it's called the it has a really weird name. It's like, it's not the plank, but it's something like that.
I forget.
The wedge or something.
But it's a Gundam colony, you know.
Mm-hmm. And there was a moment in so the game the game has been quite grounded about Jonathan's abilities up until this point. Like, he's a normal cop. And then you walk in through the entrance of that skyscraper and gun down about 200 people.
Yeah. Well, like I said, after we've established the laundry list of shit that they're up to, everyone's got to go. And there's a moment where all that shit is like you've put it all together and we're going to the final showdown, and every bullet that he loads into the gun is a flash to a memory,
which is fucking cool,
right? I like that. I thought that was a nice touch.
That was really, really cool. My favorite bit in the whole game happens here, and it's your final showdown with Redwood. Redwood, for those following along, is the dude from the plane, is the evil cop, and you basically, you have a fairly standard shootout with him, and it's like kind of whatever, it's fine. And then at the end you get treated to an animated cutscene, and Redwood's all shut up, and you're like near the top of this skyscraper, and he's leaning over the stairs, and he's like, ugh. He talks about how a frozoner, is that what they're called?
I believe so. Like
has never been killed by a regular human.
Like because it's sperm that's frozen and then shipped to space. And then defrosted and and
they're all the sons and daughters of former astronauts. So Redwood could be your son. You don't know. But he's talking about how, like, a regular human could never defeat a frozoner. And he's like, you want to kill me, don't you? Well, you never will. And next thing, he fucking Geese Howards dives backwards with just the biggest... It's so good. It's so good. Fox, if you want to give me a time code for that bit, we can play it right here, because it is just glorious.
俺を殺すことはできないのさ、ジョナサン・イングラム。
And geese howling is a great verb.
that bit kind of pushed me over the edge with this game a lot of ways, where I was like, I'm having a good time. This is fun. You know what I mean? So then anyway, you get a few last minute reveals. Everyone is related to everyone. Everyone is someone's son, daughter, or significant other.
It's small pickings up here in space, so it's extra fucked up because like he shot Chris, the Basic Instinct lady, and it's like, oh, that was basically his birth mom. Like it's all kinds of fucked up and twisted and creepy. And again, space is not good for humanity appears to be a big message here.
Yeah, I think a part of the message of this game is that, like, guys, if we get up into space, we're all just gonna start just fucking willy-nilly. It's just gonna be a giant space orgy up there.
Event Horizon right around the corner.
Yep. So you kind of get to the end of the game, and you fight basically God. It's just a man with a white beard and a giant gold suit, and it's
Captain Gates is in a mecha, and he's just raining hell on you. And it is a parallel in a way to thinking of how Solid Snake is facing down a man in a giant Metal Gear, but Solid Snake is a super soldier who has the ability to actually play it out and handle this. And you're just a cop, man.
Jonathan Ingram's only superpowers are an addiction to nicotine and misogyny.
And gropey hands, exactly, right? Fuck, man.
But then, and this moment always kind of pops me and stuff. But it's like,
I know.
The bad guy, like, I would say, goes on for about maybe 6 straight minutes about his philosophies about eugenics and man's place in space and how God has failed us. And it turns out you've been broadcasting it to the entire world.
He shoots you up too, right? Yep. And it's like you're bleeding out, and he's just won. And he's like, here's why you've lost, and just going on. And then there's just that little bit of like from the ground, from the like kind of on the floor pose. It's like, yeah. I like and he just kind of turns his head a little bit, and there's a little like ding. And it's like, I had the camera going the whole time, and it's a live feed. So I didn't just hear your plan, everyone did, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, you got him.
It was good. It was good. It was very good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so the game... Oh, sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, and immediately following that is what I think is the sickest shit. You get, again, you're pretty much down and out, but Gates is there talking shit, and he's losing his mind, and he's going crazy. But then from behind you, Ed comes up, takes the fucking headshot, and you see it's one of those Bionic Commando moments of like the clean bullet straight to the brain kind of like of the bad guy. And like as he gets shot with because the cockpit's open, Ed is just holding up. And we've been talking about the limited resources, everyone's struggling. The harvesting is because they have to give everything to higher profile people, and it's important because space is killing everyone. And he just takes the headshot, and Ed's like, so I take it you'll be donating?
Oh, it's so good.
Bars, got him.
that was the bit though where it's like, that is literally the final scene from Die Hard.
Oh, so good.
Like it is, that happens, and I was just like, Kojima, that is you literally lifted that bit from Die Hard, but it's fine, it's cool. It was still an awesome scene. And that kind of closes it out then. It's funny, like there's parts of this game that stick out to me that I think I'm always going to hold quite fondly, and some of them are really small. There's one bit where it's like you're kind of in a section of the game where you kind of need to drive from location to location, kind of back and forth a few times. And when you do, you just get this little cutscene of Jonathan and Ed in the car, and they both just look really happy.
Yep.
And it's like...
And it's a lethal weapon shot. They're sitting in the car, left and right, you know.
But they just look really content, and it's like, these dudes really missed this. Like, they really missed being partners and solving cases, and they get it back. And I think there is really, like, powerful little moments like that in the game, you know? And for all that I think is frustrating about the game, I'm going to remember it.
Yeah.
You know, like, it is unique enough and it is weird enough that I am going to think very, very fondly of it. I think there is a theoretical, much stronger version of this game. And there's another game that I played, I think 2 or 3 years ago, that I kept thinking of. Did you ever play Citizen Sleeper?
No.
You should play Citizen Sleeper.
Okay.
So Citizen Sleeper is a game about you are basically you are a cyborg clone of a human who has had to you have escaped a colony and basically made your way to this like junk space station, and the whole game is you trying to make a life work on this space station. And it is very like visual novel-esque, but with a lot of branching paths and everything done through like dice rolls and mechanics and all this kind of stuff. And so it's a really like, it is a visual novel in the loosest sense of the word, because it's also got a lot of these really engaging little gameplay mechanics, and you level up different parts of yourself that make you better at. I think you would love it. I think you'd be really, really into it. There is a kind of perfect game that lies between Citizen Sleeper and Policenauts, where I think if they could take the game parts of Policenauts, because I don't think Policenauts needs to be more of a visual novel. I think I would love to see it become more of a video game. And I don't say that about all visual novels. I like visual novels, but I just think that there's a lot that could happen here. And I think what Kojima did is he really laid out a blueprint for a kind of game that never got perfected.
Right. And it's... Oh, no, I was just going to say that, like, I'll feel that, like, Snatcher had a moment to, like, get revisited, even in just spirit. In Metal Gear Solid 4, there's a chapter where you get to, like, basically just be Gillian Seed walking around with a long coat, and you get that detective vibe. and like it feels like there's a full on like homage kind of moment that is strong there. Policenauts definitely could be, like you said, revisited. There's stuff you could do here if they wanted to. I mean at this point though, it's a Konami property. It's gone. It's ancient history, you know, that's lost in the winds. But yeah, you're not wrong in that like there's some great shit here that like would be fun if it were cleaned up a bit, you know?
Yeah. And I even think of stuff like Disco Elysium.
Yeah, okay.
And it's like, I think you can feel like you could see kind of if it had some more of those mechanics, like even just on its current like aesthetic and stuff, that could be so fucking interesting, you know? But ultimately,
pixel hunting was just the thing of the time, you know?
Pixel hunting was the thing of the time, kind of like even like the menus themselves, like one of the worst ways I think this game has aged is actually like how static a lot of the menus feel and how there's very little feedback for when you click on, like clicking on stuff doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel like you have kind of like a lot of sort of onus in the world. But again, 1994. That I kind of think like this game is a part of history, and though I did not enjoy every piece of it, I feel like a slightly more interesting person for having played it, you know?
Yeah. You froze and then came back there. I don't know if you heard me sing the song, but I did the little theme.
Oh, I'm annoyed I missed that.
Discord is acting up. I did the do. You know, that it keeps coming back whenever a nice moment happens. Classic.
Classic.
Can I just say there's one thing, you know how when we talked about Vinland Saga, it was kind of fucked up how we had a full conversation, but there was very little discussion of Thorkel.
Yes, absolutely.
It's weird how little there was for how much of an impact that character has, because there's just so much other things to talk about. I feel similarly right now that this entire conversation has started and completed, and never once have we brought up Karen, who is Lorraine's daughter, who is the reporter that is the
also
main
your
love
daughter
interest / girl that you're kind of talking to throughout the game. And that storyline and where that goes is bonkers.
It's fucking crazy, yeah. Because you of course you end up fondling her in a certain situation, and then later it's like, see you later, Dad. And it's, I don't know what the fuck they were going for with that.
Like, no, so she shows, like, the whole time you're like, wow, she's super attractive, and she's like, yeah, hey, what's up, you're cute. And it's like, oh, I remember you were like don't just think of my mom, right? Like, I'm here too or something. And like she kind of like throws herself at you, and he's like, and you're hugging her, and then he looks over and there's a portrait of her mom, your ex, right there, and you're like, and then you are like, yeah, no, you know, but you're beautiful, but no, you know. And it's just kind of this weird, like, all right, he leaves it alone. And then, yeah, the last little bit at the end of the credits is just, she sends you a letter about how everything's going great. And she goes, thanks, Dad. And it's like, oh, God.
Yeah.
She could,
what a note to end on.
Because people can't have babies in space. They have to be pregnant on Earth and then bring them up. So she could have only been born on Earth, which means the timeline.
Yep. So, like, ultimately,
fucking wild.
So I talked about Monkey Man earlier, and I really enjoyed Monkey Man. But I also thought it kind of, you could tell that a big fan of John Wick made this film, and I think it never quite escaped that shadow. And sometimes with this game, I feel like some of Kojima's writing kind of comes across the same, but at the same time, there are times when it really pokes out and it really does become its own weird thing. And those are the moments that I really loved it, you know?
Yep.
So I think with all that said, Wooly, It is time for Policenauts to take its place among the pantheon of greatness.
Okay.
Let me pull up the pantheon real quick here.
Yeah, I mean, unfiltered, uncut Kojima, right? Because later on, it gets reined in for better and for worse, but for better.
Yes.
He gets people around him that hold him back. He gets people that goes, maybe take that out. and just we've gotten his madness in its unfiltered form back here. Where does that go? Is Policenauts to you currently better than Omicron the Nomad Soul?
Absolutely.
All right.
Even in his embryonic state, Hideo Kojima was just dunking on David Cage.
How do you feel about missing a fighting game tourney?
I'm going to say I enjoyed Policenauts more than the humiliation of missing a fighting games tourney.
Okay. And what about the brutality of Fear and Hunger? I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
I thought maybe this, because we're going to fight about Fear and Hunger at some point, and I thought maybe today was the day.
No, I agree. Because quite frankly, what's above Fear and Hunger, because I know you love it, and I thought it was really cool, but what's above Fear and Hunger is Vinland Saga, Earthbound, and Kill 6 Billion Demons. I mean, that's, so hey, I think it's safe to say that the gap between Fear and Hunger and missing a fucking tourney, throw it in. Policenauts is a fucked up, weird old game with some great ideas and some really weird shit, but ultimately, it is a museum piece.
Yep, and I think that's the place for it. So as it stands right now, our list is at number 7, Omicron. At number 6, Missing a Fighting Game Tournament. At number 5, Policenauts. At number 4, Fear and Hunger. At number 3, Vinland Saga Season 1. At number 2, Kill 6 Billion Demons. And number 1, Earthbound.
Yeah. So I think as well, like, there's a lot of fun in recommending each other the coolest shit ever. But there's also high chances that you've seen a lot of the coolest shit, and there's a lot of fun out there in the like spectacle of weird old wild picks, and this is one of them. I want you to see shit like this and see what it's about.
I think if we only bring good media to this podcast, we will have let ourselves and our audience down.
That's just being real. It's just being real. Yeah, 100%. Got to keep it spicy,
Woolie, what say we move on to item number 2?
Okay.
So, Woolie.
So. Yeah.
So, I would say that our recommendations this month were equally demanding in some ways.
Equally demanding.
I was in there and I was clicking every pixel and I was trying the same conversation options. Grueling, some might say.
Pixel hunting is very hard. Very hard. But I don't suppose at any point, Policenauts made you tap, snap, or nap now, did it?
Oh my god. I kept thinking about this all month, being like, how's he getting on? Is he alright? Is he doing okay? How you feeling, buddy?
Man, okay. So, yes, you have responded to a challenge of an IRL activity with the most IRL, underline the R, the in real life. This is the realest of real life activities.
Oh yeah. Not only are you going to be around other humans, you're going to get real close.
So, Yes, where we last left off. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was the challenge. Well, John, I just got off the plane from Brazil. Yeah, no.
Okay. The places this podcast has gone already, I would not be that shocked. Hoisei Gracie, come on in here, buddy.
I just put on my blue belt. No, so where we last left off was, yes, the challenge was BJJ, and specifically as well to to roll with somebody who was at least a purple belt or higher, who was trying to tap me out. And I was like, all right, that's the bar. So this is where, of course, as I mentioned, it was established. There was someone I met at the last tournament I went to, and he said, yo, at some point, jiu-jitsu might happen. When it does...
I think me and you, Woolie, there was no might. We have been coming this direction the entire time. I know you felt it. You knew it was coming, and now we're here.
And you know what, John? You know what? When he said that, I was like, you are right. This is true. Let me make note of this. But despite the fact that I felt and knew it was coming and had a black belt ready, I did not do it and combo break it.
I see.
I let it happen. I could have went in advance and fucked around just to have that in there.
Just to combo break it. You could have.
Just to smash the glass.
I have had similar thoughts about future things.
Okay. But I didn't do it because I said, let's see where this goes, right? Okay. So as we ended last time, just, if we're putting all cards on the table. So as we ended last time, I looked straight into the camera and I went, James, it's time. And we got in touch. So Command Grab James is the name he goes by.
Command Grab James. Oh, that's so cool.
Right. And he's like, I got a gym. We roll. We do it without gis. And, he's a black belt. He's it's a class that's in there that there's it's a place that's called it's 10th Planet is the name of the gym, and
there's a couple of 10th Planets, right?
Yeah, I believe so. So 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu, and this particular one, it's in an area called Monk up here. So shout outs to 10th Planet up at Monk. He said like, all right, what you're gonna need to do. So here's the address. You're going to need to get yourself some rash guards. You're going to need to get yourself some pocketless shorts, right? And a mouth guard, And I was like, okay, yeah, I play football. I used to have a mouth guard. I go get one of those. I had some. I was like, it's funny because I was like, oh, rash guard. That's the name of that kind of shirt. I didn't know that was the name for it, So I was like, yeah, I have a couple of those too. I didn't have any shorts that had no pockets, and I was like, oh, that makes sense because a finger or a toe or something that gets caught, right, could probably be potentially dangerous if someone.
That could be pretty nasty.
Yeah. And the whole thing here is, they go without gis, right? So
this is no gi jiu-jitsu.
No gi. Yeah.
Yep. Which I am also. I am more practiced in gi, but I do know gi as well.
Okay. So yeah, my understanding here is that gi is it's very different in that like there's always something to grab onto, and for better and for worse, right?
Gi is much slower. Gi is like you can grab onto someone and just hold them there. No gi, there is way more movement of the whole body.
Okay. Yeah, and so this was like get that. So I got that equipment. I got it all there. I boiled my little mouth guard.
Made it all squishy.
And I rolled up, you know, and when I was kind of curious about, like, I'm like, okay, so yeah, so I was like, James, like I don't really, I'm like, so, you know, who are we looking at here? What exactly is the deal, as far as, you know, credentials go? And I took a quick look and I saw this. I'm going to just drop this here for you. I saw this photo.
Damn.
And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
This dude's legit.
And then I saw this one, and there's a couple others like it, where I was like, oh, yeah, first place. Okay, cool. Got it. Understood. You know, he's done some shit. He's in there, right?
This guy is not fucking around.
Not fucking around. And the second sign of not fucking around is walking up and like, yo, what's up? How's it going? The most cauliflowered fucking ears you have ever seen.
That's it. Like, fuck belts, fuck size, fuck everything. When you look over at someone and they have cauliflowered ears, if you don't, forget about it.
Don't fuck around.
Just don't even survive. Don't try and win. Just try and survive. Flat,
you know? And it's like, yeah, I've heard that is it. So it's like, okay, cool. Got it, you know? So yeah, just kind of went in and is you know, very, very basic. So it's kind of walking into a class that is, you know, there's mixed levels, of course, everyone. There's you know, white, and there are multiple, some people are beginning, some people are advanced. And generally the pacing is such that it's like, okay, so for someone who's just kind of walking and going, I don't know anything. What are we going to do? What do we got? It's kind of like, we're going to do they're going to throw you kind of right into the deep end a little bit with, like, even if you're not quite sure yet, here's an example of like a hold or a position. Here's a mount, or like, you know,
side control,
full
guard, full
exactly.
Mounts. Yep.
Right. And
half guard, spider guard, X guard, De La Hiva.
Or side control, or judo side control, or I believe was it twist side control? A couple different variants of things that can all apply, and like, yeah, and sort of you get thrown into that position, and then it's like, try it from the top, try it from the bottom, you know, give it a whirl, see how you feel, and you're like, okay, get through the motions a little bit. I have like. So yeah, the last year has been pretty crazy for me. I mean, I talked about it in the first episode, but the OptiFast era, you know, the beverage that helped me, I lost a whole lot of weight and got myself in shape. By the way, on that note, as I'm bringing it up again, some folks were like, "Oh, why are you shilling this drink? You can't buy it. It's not for sale, so it's not shilling. It's literally you have to get it.
When we shill, you'll know about it."
Exactly. So. So with having lost a lot of weight, and I'm trying to like get my cardio back in shape and stuff. So I've been, you know, walking every morning, doing a bit of boxing every morning, and trying to just keep it up. But my cardio is still shot to shit. And yeah, I find out right quick, you know, within a couple of just like full force attempts to like roll around and, you know, just move a little bit.
It annihilates you in a way that your body, like, so Woolie, you know, whatever your specific situation with cardio is, what I would say, when you even start slightly rolling, your body has no idea what's happening, and you expend 100% of your energy instantly. Like, yes. It's not even just a cardio thing. One of the best lessons I ever had is I stayed behind one day at class, and I rolled with a blue belt, and we rolled for about 5 minutes, and at the end of it, he goes, okay, what's the difference between me and what's the difference with you? And I was like, well, you didn't just get the shit kicked out of you. And he goes, I know that, but what's the difference between like us physically? And I was like, I guess I'm breathing really heavy. And he's like, and I'm not. And then he goes, why do you think that is? And he goes, I'm not in better shape than you. Why do you think that is? And I was like, I don't know. And
conditioning.
He's like, it's because your body isn't used to this.
Conditioning.
Yep. And you're just going full blast all the time, because you kind of go into a full... Anyway, sorry, go ahead, Woolie.
Yeah. No. Well, I mean, finish that thought. That's very interesting.
It's kind of like when you don't know how to fight every second. So the thing I always do, I beat every white belt I've ever fought the exact same way. I get them in side control and I sit there. I just stay on their side. I don't let them up, and they're there going, and they're trying to muscle me out, and they can't because that's not how that works.
Yeah.
And I wait for them to get tired. I take the arm, tap.
Right. Okay.
And it's not that they're out of shape. No amount of cardio will help them in that situation. It's just that they're willingly blowing all their energy.
Right. And it's getting them nowhere. You're flailing.
Yep.
Yep. So with that is the it's the interesting contrast, of course, is that with boxing, just keeping your hands up is the hardest thing in the world as time goes on. It's brutal to just keep your guard up. And add throwing jabs in, and your shoulder is going to burn very quickly, right? But when parts start to, like, when you start to gas, in boxing, I feel that I get gassed in localized places, right? I feel my arms get heavy. I feel like my breath starts to get short, and I can feel like even like my hips, when I've been rotating a good bit, I can feel a bit of tension there. I can feel my ankles, because you're twisting them quite a bit. And you're like, there's these parts where like it's deep red and then it fades to yellow and then it fades to green and then it fades back to deep red, And so you kind of get used to that. And every time I hit the bags or such, I'm trying to work on my ability to like not lose the jab, keep the jab stiff, keep it good, keep it, consistent, because, when you're 15 minutes in and you've been throwing jabs consistently, they're going to get a lot weaker. Your form's going to get lost, but you still want them to be effective. And that's going to be burning. Can you still throw it when you're burning? But there's parts of my body that are fine. In jiu-jitsu, it's top to bottom red.
Oh, yeah. You are coming out of those first couple of sessions sorer than you've ever been, using muscles that you had no idea existed.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was yeah. So in this class, and I kind of went in, I was like, okay, so let's do the class. Let me learn a little bit about what's going on. And then I set up, I was like, yeah. And then at some point, we've got to do it for reals, and he's like, all right, no problem. So, so I took a second and, I guess, so I learned, the, Ashigarami, like kind of like, with the legs, cross position. And then, there was a bit about, as you're kind of rotating, the effectiveness of a knee shield. Right, bringing it up to kind of block.
Oh, knee shields are everything. Knee shields are your guard or your hands up in boxing.
Yes, it was quite incredible to see like how effective that is with just keeping that up and rotating on your butt, just scooching. As you feel which way they're coming, how you can use that to, effectively, just deflect someone from passing you, which is also what I didn't fully know. I mean, I've heard words, I've heard pulling guard, I've heard, exactly side control, I've heard rear naked choke and things like that. Mm-hmm. But I was like, so how does this work? Because I did wrestling in high school, and I know that
I did not know that.
I did a little bit of wrestling.
Oh, wow.
And so, yeah, with Greco-Roman, you kind of have your point system.
I mean, that's a big one up going into jiu-jitsu. I hate wrestlers.
Yeah, I didn't know how much of this was a thing, but like from the moment I saw the starting position in standing where you start to wrap up, right? And you're using your hooks like that. I was like, oh, like that's starting position in wrestling. And you go for there's points. Different types of points of successful moves will land you different points. If you do grand amplitude, where you arc your opponent through the air, you can get yourself like a full 5 points on that. But there's also pinning, right, where you can land a full pin, and then that's the match. So I was like, yeah, those are the rules of how that kind of goes. And obviously in boxing, you got your point system, you got your knockouts and your technicals and everything. So I was like, what do we do in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? How does it work? Because I'm like, yeah, again, like you've said it. I'm like snap, nap, or tap, but I'm like, that's a wild series of rules. Is it really just is it really just like that? And it's kind of like, yeah. So the time limit just kind of goes, and if you can get the highest amount of points in the time limit, and no one has tapped or the fight hasn't ended clearly, then it's not going to hit a stopping point with the point count, right? So no matter what, that is to say, it's not like if you're not getting put into a submission, if you're just going for it and is successfully countering each other, you're going to go the full distance, which means that cardio is almost always going to need to be in peak condition, you know?
Yeah.
So that was a cool, and so one of the there's like, from putting up the leg and getting a knee shield up and stuff, I was kind of watching too, as well as like, James he rolled with a couple of other, like, black belts there, and I just kind of watched like what it's like at full speed and with maximum attempts. And it's crazy to just kind of watch these things where you see someone go for like they're wrapped up and then like to a double leg takedown, and then like the takedown gets countered and then immediately shift to the side, and you're like, 3 exchanges just happened there real quick,
Yep.
That is essentially footsies. You're watching footsies occur, and like a gesture led to a counter, led to a step that was like, and now we're back to neutral. You tried, it didn't work, and then you covered your fuck up, and now we're back here,
Nearly like fighting games are based on something.
Yeah. Yeah, almost. The funny part is that, so James, he kept using things like, he would say, you have frame advantage here, or you're plus, or, you know what I mean? Like, he would actually like,
oh, that's so cool.
Because when I met him, it was from over at the Tekken, so he was coming at it with that point of view, and I'm like, look, I know the running gag is everything is fighting games for Woolie, but like, if it's the best way to explain a thing, I didn't even ask or say bring it up. He just used that to be like, yeah, so this is why that's useful. I'm like, okay, get it. You've communicated effectively, and so at some point, I was kind of like, okay, so I don't want to be, kind of like the weirdo that's kind of walking in and just being all in everyone's face to film and stuff. But I did want to be like, hey, can we just get like evidence that I did this? And I was like, so can we just take a photo? And he's like, yeah, sure. So he everyone, he kind of, there's a little break, and he kind of called everyone over and, took this photo here.
Aww.
Of just like, hey, I showed up, I did it, so bottom right.
Woolie, that is some kind of expression on your face.
That is me, sweat pouring down, mouth guard in halfway, just like, okay, we're doing it, and I'm also keeping in mind as well that I'm like, the full thing, right? The full attempt is still awaiting ahead of me, so I can't gas out now. But yeah, so there you go, evidence that it happened. So as we go to set up the whole thing, and we were kind of like, okay, so he asked one of his friends, like, hey, do you mind just filming this little bit here so that we can get the match? And then we'll just go for the full attempt standing up. And like, I'm like, sure. Cause I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't want to, be a bother and everything. And the guy's like, yeah, sure. No problem. And so he grabbed it and hit it. And, so we start and we go, I'm just doing whatever. I'm just kind of like, I'm thinking of like, some of just the basics of just like trying to keep him away and trying to get in a little bit where I can, but it's flailing, and yeah,
I mean, look, dude, like a white belt against anyone with any experience, it's literally like a rabbit fighting a tiger. Like there's so little you can do,
Now, one basic exercise that we had done earlier that was awesome was just kind of like, hey, just sit on your ass. I'm going to try to get in, just spin and keep me facing you. Just as I come as I come to the left, turn left, as I come to the right, turn right, and just keep me out. That's it, right? Nothing fancy. And I was like, okay, just scooch. And it's not like fully pulling guard right on your back or anything, but you're just kind of sitting and spinning. And I was like, okay, so there's things like that, and then there's things where similarly I mounted, and he was like, okay, try to come in, and in this position, like, it's my job on the bottom to try and get out, and you don't have to do much. You're already in advantage here, so you just need to hold this. So try to keep that advantage. And it was like, oh, that's a really useful thing to understand, that like there are situations where it's you that has to do something right now, right?
Yes.
I'm in a advantageous situation, and to continue the analogies, you're in the corner. I'm not in the corner. I have the life lead. You have to do something.
I'm gonna do fine if I just keep you in the corner.
Exactly. So now,
there's a lot of things that are gonna open up to me just by you being here.
Right. And then, so with that comes the understanding as well that like sometimes there's moments where you can just chill and try to hold something, hold your position or so. The other thing that I learned about was the concept of like how points are made are when you pass guard, right? Someone will do something defensive. You will try to break through it. And if you get through that and you end up in a position of control over them, you get a point for passing their guard, right? And
so I'm not actually too familiar with point stuff because I only focus on submission grappling. I don't really care about points that much. We do some clubs point stuff in my club. I just like submitting.
Okay. Well, as far as I understand, a part of this is like it's also good form in general to like, you know, always be like, okay, I see what this defense is. I've got the ability to pass through it. Or
totally.
Or if it goes wrong, you know, if I tried something and it's failing and now I'm on the defensive, you know, you have the branch of options ready to escape and such. But ideally, like there's sequences of like you pass someone's guard and then you get into another position and then you pass and you continue one to the other, you know?
And like point stuff is still super useful because it's like with something like jiu-jitsu, it's kind of like the big mistake everyone makes at the start is how do I tap someone out? When the question they should be asking is how do I get in a position where I can tap someone out?
Right. Yes. So it's interesting. Like, so there he was describing like every like certain holds and positions as like things have startup where you'll see the moment that I'm getting into, it's not a toe lock or hold, it's not like the full ankle lock, but it's the position right before it. And when you see that starting to happen, your brain is supposed to go, oh, I know what's about to happen. And you shift, you do the whole thing. Yep. Like in this case, I learned about like you shift over to sit on the leg, you know, and then you escape and fully rotate yourself out the opposite way. But like there's these things where like you recognize, the position before the position, you know. And the cool thing too as well is like for some stuff that like I was like not fully getting, everyone in the class was so chill. You know, people would just kind of come over and be like, oh, or he'd be like, hey, can you help me with this? Because, you know, we're in position. He's like, yeah, just help him from this side because I can't really, you know, get a good view on what's happening. And like, you know, someone came over and she was giving some tips and helping me with like, you know, like angles that like I couldn't figure out initially, you know?
So, dude, I don't know what it is, but like you know, I did Taekwondo for many, many years. I'm a black belt in Taekwondo. And there was not that mentality. Taekwondo, at least where I did it, it was very jockish. It was very competitive. Everyone was showing up and trying to be the best fighter that week. With jiu-jitsu, everyone is so fucking chill. And everyone just wants to help each other get better. And I fucking love that.
Absolutely. And the vibe is just so laid back. You know, you get in there, they're playing the music. Some people are like, so I know that like, I guess different places have different levels of like, you know, proper buttoned up suit and tie-ness to it, I suppose. And, you know, some places might be, I don't know if it's necessarily gi oriented or not that is more like that, but the understanding is that there's certain places where like there's a decorum that must be followed and things are very much, you know, uptight. But here it was very lax and people were definitely just like, yo, we're here to learn. Music's playing, music's blasting, got a good playlist going. Some people are going.
Dude, I have rolled to so much Linkin Park.
Yeah, right. Got a good playlist going. Got some Kendrick Lamar.
Hell yeah.
Right. And just like, you know, like someone or, you know, maybe someone went out front and had a little smoke, you know, got to do what they had to do, whatever the case is. Everyone's coming in whatever state they want to. And, but the thing that like makes sense is that the thing I've heard about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu from a distance has always been that like, yes, after all these years of traditional martial arts and things that have been, you know, put on a pedestal and maybe, the rigidity is almost like it's not practical. It becomes more emblematic and representational of a form, you know? BJJ is like, no, this is real. This is coming in and like kind of being the most practical thing, because when someone grabs you and starts shoving you around, that's what a fight is. Fights are not people getting into fisticuffs. You know what I mean? And, you know, Queensberry rules do not apply, you know?
Definitely, like, different people have very different takes on what is a realistic fight. But I think it's hard to argue that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is not, at the very least, extremely up there in kind of what you could expect from your standard kind of street fight and what will serve you. But at the same time, it's worth saying a street fight is just best avoided.
Of course.
It doesn't matter if you've been doing Muay Thai for 10 years, Jiu-Jitsu for 10 years, like kickboxing for 10 years, boxing for 10 years, you're still just better off not fucking doing it, because everyone has a mate and you can get sucker punched in a second, you know?
Yep. 100. It's not worth it. And you know, and again, at anyone falling, your head hitting the concrete, you don't know how that's going to go, or someone else. Like, there's a million things that go wrong. So yeah, that can't be understated. Overstated.
I would be pretty confident against any untrained person in a ring. I don't want to fight anyone on hard ground, you know, because that's not even for me. Like, I don't want them to fucking, you know, get hip tossed and smack their head and die, and then I have to go to jail, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So that's the thing is, but it does feel though that like the first 5 seconds of a fight might be boxing, but seconds 6 through infinity are BJJ. Right? Because there's always someone gets grabbed and someone's going to start pushing, shoving, pulling is more of what, like, when things get ugly tends to be what's happening, right? So all this to say that, though, with this being a very practical style that has had a lot of like real, you know, like, okay, this is not going to be about like memorizing a form. It's going to be about using my body in a real situation to try and avoid, you know, what you're trying to do here. That practicality applies to the mentality as well, where, you know, it's kind of like we're coming in with a loose attitude because we're trying to learn what works and what doesn't work. And we're not going to waste time with things that are, you know, kind of frivolous and ultimately don't really mean much and or are not too practical. You know, it just feels very, very real about it.
And like as someone who spent like literally hundreds of hours over the years doing katas, I'm so glad. Right. You know, I just want to learn how to fight. And everything you do in jiu-jitsu is geared towards that. I
mean, you know, you've been not so subtle about your opinions on Wing Chun, you know, in the past.
Well, I mean, look, I have a tremendous amount of respect for the art form that is Wing Chun, okay? I do.
But listen, and as someone who took a bunch of it, I'm just going to say that, yeah, a lot of the classes were spent doing, you know, the different blocks and patterns and doing this to the air and kind of like learning the forms, but like there's the parts where you're actually sparring with somebody with like sticky hands and stuff. Where you're like, oh, when I'm working with somebody, this feels real. You're applying it. There's a lot going on, but like a lot of the forms were forms. You know, that's
okay.
Look, they're
katas. Like I love how Wing Chun looks. I really do. I think it's really cool. I just get annoyed when I see people online being like, you know, if any Wing Chun fighter ever actually tried, well, you know. Don't want to say what would happen. What would happen is you'd be tapped out immediately, you know? Like, okay.
I mean, look, it's just not everybody on Earth is going to be Ip Man once they learn, you know? But at the end of the day, it was invented by someone. Wing Chun was a small lady who was, you know, unable to effectively use the hard Shaolin styles. And so she learned something and developed something that's a bit more for weight distribution and such. And, you know, it had a practical purpose based on the use case it came from. But the universality of that is just doing a bunch of forms is not going to teach you, you know, about what really happens.
That's ultimately where I land with fighting. I just think it's important to know specifically what you're learning. I
agree with that. And I say this as someone who's, again, on the far, far end of uneducated about a lot of that. So Yeah, so everyone was just had a really cool attitude. It was a really fun vibe, and it was very friendly. And some folks even came up and went like, "Oh, first time, want to roll?" And I was kind of like, "Oh, well, I'm specifically, trying to like do something here, but like, thank you, And there's like, "Oh, it's okay, cool, no problem." And
10 years ago, I talked shit about Hunter x Hunter on a podcast.
Now here I am. Yeah, long story. Anyways, just get choked out. But so anyway, so that was so I kind of. So we did it, and yeah, I kind of flopped about, but with the thought of just like keep your direction, and just try to ultimately, while not knowing what you're doing, keep yourself out of what feels like a very vulnerable position. And it didn't last very long. It lasted it was like, maybe 20 seconds before I just got
But Woolie, like at that point, every second is a victory, and
course.
I'm not like I'm not taking
right.
the piss there. I genuinely like. Did you feel the powerlessness? Did you feel like
because it was like a 5-minute round, and I was already partially gassed from earlier.
That's the worst. That's the worst. When you get tapped out immediately and you look up at the clock and it's like 4:32.
And you're like, okay.
So, okay, how'd you get tapped?
Right? Honestly, the first time, I think he just like flipped. I think I dropped and got my leg like pulled into like a bad position. I kind of forget because it all happened so fast.
Yeah.
And the reason why it's easy to forget is because over the next 4 minutes and 32 seconds, it happened again and again and again.
Yep. Yeah. So normal though.
Right?
So normal.
And it was like, okay, all right, beep. What the fuck? And then that was it. And then I was like, cool, hey, thanks. And the dude handed back over the camera, and I went to go look at it, and he didn't record any of it.
It's okay.
And so we lost the footage. And
Our viewers might be disappointed. I have seen what you're talking about happen enough times and been on both ends of it that I know exactly how that went.
Because, yeah. And again, I did, I took photo evidence, proof. I went, I was there. But yeah, it just, like, he hit it, and then, like, I think because I hit record when I handed it to him, and then like he hit it again and then stopped it, and it was one of these things.
Sure.
Yeah. So, but it was basically a king combo in Tekken, as I failed to break any of the grabs, and he just went from one into the other into the other.
Did you get choked?
At some point, yes, but I also before that asked, because I was like, I want to know what that feels like, right, with the rear naked chokehold, and it's like you go into it and like, oh, without any pressure, you're like, this is bad, this is very, very bad. I never want to be here, Yeah.
So it's funny because like when I started, my version of submission was like WWE crawling to the ropes and being like, oh, I'm nearly there. Oh, I just gotta hold on a little longer. When you're in a legit submission hold, it's your body being like, we need to get out of this immediately. No matter what we do, if they want us to piss our pants and call ourselves little baby britches, we're just going to do it because this is horrible.
Oh God. It's just, yeah. Like you realize how much of your body has a lot of muscle on it, and how little of that muscle is on your neck.
Yeah.
There is nothing right here. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and then I asked, I was like, I wanted to feel what it was like to get into like an ankle lock, and just the position of like taking a foot and like grabbing like the kind of like the Achilles and the back, and then just twisting the opposite way, and you feel the little bit. You're like, oh yeah, tap 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 tap. Yeah, no. Okay, got it. Shouldn't go that way. Like you talked about how people can sometimes just tank through something if they don't tap and they're both at least black, right? The ref's not going to call it, right? They'll just be like, you know what you're doing. If you think you can get out of this, then we're just going to let it go. Tanking through some of that shit is insane, man.
Yeah. And I would say anyone tanking through that stuff has probably laid some groundwork in the very subtle angles of their body that they're already positioned in a way to absorb some of it.
Okay.
You know?
Okay. Yeah.
So it's not just raw fear. But like I've had that before. One of my proudest moments in jiu-jitsu was this was about a year ago. I was rolling with another blue belt. And I really love the Kimura. That's one of my favorite submissions. And I got him in it. And the Kimura is a little dangerous because like there's not a lot of pain until snap.
Oh fuck.
And so I'm always a little careful with it.
Okay.
But I got a guy, got him completely tied up, and I was like, this is done. And he wouldn't tap. And I was like, oh fuck. I was like, I'm not like in my head I was like, I'm not breaking this guy's arm. But next thing the coach came over and he broke us up. And he stands the guy up and he goes, next time I'm going to let him break your arm.
Oh, wow. Yeah. He saw it. And he saw that he was not tapping even though he should have. Okay.
Yeah.
Fuck.
That Kimura has served me well.
Okay. Yeah.
There was another time I tapped a guy and I saw the coach go over to him again and just goes, if John gets to the Kimura, just tap. It's like, yeah.
Oh, man. It's so interesting because like, yeah, like seeing... you know, like there's a couple. I was watching. Some people were rolling and like getting into like triangles and things like that. And like,
were you on the receiving end any triangles?
Maybe just as an explanation, not in full force, you know, but just in asking questions about what was what and you know, getting into the position. But something that that was interesting, what James was teaching me was that like there are times where a position that is disadvantageous, if you are very comfortable there, you might actually let them take that because you know that's where you excel. And like, so he has a couple of places like that where like, you know, in most cases you'd want to keep someone away from that angle, but he's like, I have so many counters ready to go that I actually want to invite you into my layer and then, you know, counter from that position.
So there was a little dude who he was in my club and he was fucking genius. He was so good at fighting. And he's like 5 foot. And he choked me out twice in a row. And I was so pissed because we're both the same level, you know? And I realized eventually it was because this dude is tiny and like he was muscled, but like muscled for a very small person. He was so used to people just bashing through his guard and getting him on side control. He got so good at flipping over onto your back and just choking you out.
Yeah.
And once I realized that, I started pulling him into like I wasn't trying to get on top of him anymore. I was pulling him on top of me, and I was able to tap him from that position because he had no idea what to do from there.
Okay,
and that was a real like, okay, you know.
So that's exactly what he was telling me about. Like, so in competitions, he's talked about how like he would let people put him in a dance choke and
Darcy choke.
Oh, Darcy? Sorry, yeah, Darcy choke.
Could be that. There's different terminology.
DARCE. Yes, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's my favorite choke.
Okay, right. So and from that, like he has a plan to take their back off of that choke. So if you don't have hip mobility, you can't really do that, but like he does. So it's like, yeah, by all means, go for it, and then flip around, you know. And so like, yeah, it's like, oh shit, okay, you can like lay the bait and let someone kind of step into the trap, you know, and you're like, this is where I live.
Upper level jiu-jitsu is so much just setting traps. Which I don't know about because I'm not there. I've just had it done on me enough.
But yeah, no. So it was very, very quick, and you know. But yeah, again, I was like, all right, well, we did it. Got in there, got to feel that full force, but I did afterwards though, like I did get one video. So let me see if I can pull this up for you. Give me a second. Can you hear that?
Yep. Where are you going?
All right, so due to technical difficulties, unfortunately, the session, as I mentioned, that I went to was not captured on film. It didn't work out, despite my best efforts, but I did attend the class. I did learn a couple things, but I wasn't able to get some footage to show you guys anything, John. So that's why we're coming back. This is round 2. This is the second day of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Let's go!
Here at 10th Planet Academy of Jiu-Jitsu. I came back.
Oh. Nice, okay. Cross those legs, hell yeah.
So we're just doing some drills here, just learning. He's explaining a couple things. Right, he's kind of explaining how positions work.
Mm-hmm. Y'all ready to live? Y'all ready to come on? Let's go, y'all. Let's go, y'all. If y'all ready to move, if y'all ready to fool, if y'all ready to win, if y'all ready to lose. Let's go, y'all. Let's go, y'all. Dude's back live to kill it with a squad, so the movement back, baby, the music back. And you got a course-side seat to get it straight from the source. Now how cool is that? So you can hate them, but the truth is that you fucking with the best, and we coming with the new shit black. Yeah, I need to know how y'all feeling. I need to know if y'all willing. So raise it up to the ceiling.
I see the look. That is nasty.
But
y'all ready to ride? Y'all ready to fly? Y'all ready to live? Y'all ready to come on? Let's go, y'all. Let's go, y'all. If y'all ready to move, if y'all ready to fool,
Hell yeah, dude. Very nice.
if y'all ready to lose, let's go, y'all. Let's go, y'all.
So I brought Reggie the second time around.
Reggie's shooting this?
Yeah.
Oh.
So this is an exercise with just staying on top.
Oh, butterfly. Oh, going to the back.
Yes.
Y'all ready to ride? Y'all ready to fly?
Whoa, fair play, Woolie. That's sick.
Let's go, y'all. Let's go, y'all. If y'all ready to move, if y'all ready to fool, if y'all ready to win, if y'all ready to lose, let's go, y'all. Let's go.
Nice.
Just practicing that, yeah. A little, yeah.
So the movement back, baby, the music back, and you got a course-side seat to get
And
it
then,
straight from
yeah.
the source. Now how cool is that? So you can hate them, but the truth is that you fucking with the best.
Dropping
Very
it beside the
nice.
track.
Yeah.
I need to know.
I remember that. That was like 2 weeks ago.
Good hustle.
Yeah, so
Oh, Woolie. I'm so proud. I'm so proud. Well done, dude. Seriously, that is not an easy thing to do your like first 2 classes in, and you did it.
So I went back, no, I couldn't go the next week, so I went the week after, which happened to be Thursday, which was originally when we were going to record, right?
Okay, yeah.
In order to get anything, I had to come back for a second class, and that was the original recording day. So that's when I just did that. It was on Thursday. And taking in like to account a little bit of what I had learned as well and everything. We kind of just went back over a few things, learned a little bit more, got a little bit of a more advanced sequence going. Cause there was from, Ashigarami first, and then the knee shield was it like some of the first stuff. And then we kind of did, there was a sequence. There was the double leg takedown to twisted side control. And then ninja roll, I guess is the what they'd call it. And then
I haven't seen that too much before. That was cool.
Truck, and then a back take. I kept going too far over and bringing him on top of me. So like the difficulty there was just getting used to like how far to stop and then lean into the shoulder and kind of keep him in a point where you're not giving him a position on top of you. And then, as well. And then the other sequence was the from mount, trap the ankle, turn in to knee shield, come up on the underhook, and then you get into dogfight position, which is pretty cool, where you're side by side, you know, like legs hooked, and then
Right. Okay. Yeah.
he called it. There was like dogfight, and then like from there you can like knee tap sweep. So you grab one of the knees from crossing over to it, and then you pass his guard to side control. You know, and I was like, that is like a combo sequence. That is a full ass.
Yep.
You know?
That is advanced. That's so cool.
But just getting a touch for like what that looked like, even in slow mo, and then going a little bit faster, seeing how it moves smoothly, and then going like, okay, now let's do it with resistance, and feeling what that was like, it felt very educational, you know. And then it was like, all right, we're here. We didn't get it last time. Let's fucking get it this time, then, shall we? You see it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Been there, buddy. Been there.
Y'all ready to live?
Oh.
Y'all ready to fool? Y'all ready to win? If y'all ready to lose, let's go, y'all. Let's go, y'all. Dude's back live, the killer with a squad, so the movement back, baby, the music back. And you got a courtside seat to get it straight from the source. Now how cool is that? So you can hate them, but the truth is that you fucking with the best, and we coming with the new shit black. Yeah, I need to know how y'all feeling. I need to know if y'all willing to raise it up to the ceiling and get it going. We gotta get it up.
Nice.
No.
Yeah, I mean, yep.
Y'all ready to ride?
Get the ankle off. Get the foot off. Oh, no.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah, that's it.
Let's go, y'all.
Yeah, he went, what time is it? It's 1924.
You were actually able to hold out on that armbar a lot. Like, that would have taken a lot of strength.
I was again just trying to like not give him whatever I could, but
That's why I'm down to stop. I can't quit it, man. I'm strung out on this shit. I can't kick it, man. I mean, for real, dog. I can't quit, man. Let's go, y'all. Let's go.
Can I use the thing that I learned? No.
I mean, it was a good attempt, and you have his leg.
Let's go, y'all. Let's go, y'all.
Nice.
And I'm like,
Oh shit. Yeah, that'll happen.
I'm like, I don't hold him here. I don't know what I'm trying to do, but yeah, I'm gassed. There goes my mouthpiece.
But you're still trying.
There it is.
That's James?
Yeah.
Command grab James?
Yeah.
What a dude. Shout out to James.
We gotta get it up.
Woolie, come here. This is for John.
What's good?
John, give me 3 months.
Oh my god. Yeah.
And I'll have him
Let's go!
ankle leg.
No promises.
Do you do leg locks in Europe?
Look, I don't know what's going on. No promises for nothing. But at some point we will fight.
Oh yeah, no, that's a given. That's a given.
I don't know when. I don't know what the rules will be. But we all know where this is going.
Oh, everyone has known from minute one where this is going. I mean, clearly. Woolie, the only reason I recommended you Jiu-Jitsu is because I wanted to last longer than 30 seconds.
Oh, goddamn. Yeah.
Okay, but no, Woolie, listen, seriously. Like, everything else aside... Everything else aside, so much respect. That is hard, and it is a hard thing to like walk into, and it's a hard thing to survive, right? Like when you're in there with 5 minutes with someone who knows what they're doing, it is grueling on a level that people who have never done it will never understand, right?
I get it. I get it. And, you know, it's one thing to like I said, I was starting to get tired just doing drills and like, you know, sparring strength resistance to a couple of exercises. When it was go time, I don't know how it looked, but when he was fully moving and just completely resisting, and the things, I have probably 40 pounds on him. You know what I mean? Like maybe more. I don't know what the weights are, but like I'm quite bigger than James is. And like a couple times I was able to use that from the top to like stop him from moving in some positions. So he had to fight hard. But when it was like full speed go time, yeah, it was like, give me that.
And like
there you go.
The thing with someone like James as well is like, and like this isn't a slight to you at all. This is just how it works. He's also letting you work. You know, like if like in a truly competitive environment, it would be even quicker and even harder.
Yes. So my understanding there that too is like there was an understanding that it's like he's like, you know, you go at you tend to go at someone else's pace, you know. And especially when you're better, and there's an understanding of like them trying to get to the point where they can learn something versus not. But I did say, but for what it was worth, it was like, okay, I understand that, but it's still like, go for it, get to the position that is the clear failure, and do it as many times as you can in 5 minutes. And he did. You know, that was 3 to the beep, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, hopefully sometime I'm in Montreal. We can go for a roll with James. That'd be so fucking sick.
I mean, shit, man. It was
he can whoop my ass too.
I mean, hey, like you've recently gotten your accolades, right? So, you know,
I mean, I'm a decent blue belt. I'm not a black belt, you know.
Let's see those ears. How much cauliflower? Yeah, I feel like no, and then at the end there, you know, like Reggie like pogging at the camera, whoa, you know, because the call out little moment,
so good,
you know. But yeah, James foresaw, and he foresees it, you know. So it's like, I don't know what the fuck kind of podcast this is, man, but like. But the groundwork is being laid.
The groundwork is being laid.
What's cool as well is the fact that like he not only you know does he roll and does do BJJ, but he also boxes. You know, and
sick.
Like so he has like a full understanding from both sides on that, and that's pretty slick. You know, so I'm hitting the mitts a little bit when I went in, but no, I think you know, you did, like you said, you set the goal, the stipulation. We matched that level and achieved it. And like, I knew when you said like, I want them to be actually trying to tap you. It was like, you're going to have to find someone that's willing to, you know what I mean? Like go like competitive TV level at you. I don't know if that's a responsible thing that anyone who has earned their colors is going to do. But I also know you're like, it needs to be something you learn from and not just like someone taking it easy on Woolie, you know?
All I mean by that is like someone who's not willing to lose and someone who's not going to take it too easy. I don't think you need to find someone to try and kill you.
Yeah.
But I guess I wanted you to feel the pressure. And, you know, like...
Yeah, and that's what I want to get across, I suppose, is believe me, I felt it. And then when
I saw the footage.
And then I came back the second week and I felt it again. You know, and there was a couple collective, you know, hours worth of like getting the gist of things, and no, I did not feel like I was being given much quarter. I felt like I tried very hard despite not knowing what I was doing, and at some point it was like, never mind the technique, just try to not die for a second here, you know.
Yes.
And I my arm and my neck and like all of it, the next day I was like, yep, this is what it is. I just laid on my couch and just felt it.
Did I tell the Ricardo story on this podcast?
Perhaps not.
So there's a guy in my gym. He's a purple belt, and he's called Ricardo. and I would say he is about 250 pounds at about 6'1", 6'2". Big fucking guy. And there's kind of an unspoken thing in the gym. Unless you're like a black belt, you just try and survive against Ricardo. And I have kind of learned in my day, just don't piss him off. Just give him a good competitive role. Don't try anything too nasty. Don't try anything. Don't be too smart, because if you piss him off, it's going to be hell.
Okay.
And so I'm not a big person. You know, I'm 5'8", 175 pounds, and I was going stand up with Ricardo, and I actually love stand up. I really like stand up. I love tossing people. I love.
Yeah, no.
Question?
Yeah, no. I just, as you mentioned that, it's like when he asked me, "Do you want to stand up or sit down?" I was like, "Let's stand up," and he was like, "Oh, really? Wow. Most people prefer sitting down." And I was like, "That's crazy. I thought standing up was the normal default thing because that's what wrestling was, you know?"
So because jiu-jitsu is so dedicated to the ground, a lot of people like to start on the ground. Personally, me, I love stand up.
Okay.
I love throws. I love drags. I love everything. And one of my favorite moves in jiu-jitsu is, I'm not sure what the actual name for it is. I just got shown it once in class and got real into it. I call it like a collar drag, but it's kind of like, basically you grab someone's collar, pull them this way, kind of like clockwise, and as they're going, kick their feet out from under them.
Oh, okay.
It's a nasty move, and it's a nasty move to get hit with. It's not illegal, but it is like, it's not pleasant.
Yeah.
And me and Ricardo are kind of going back and forth, and I can feel like his massive fucking paws on like the back of my head trying to pull me down and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed, oh shit, I am in the exact position that I can hit the collar drag. And immediately my brain goes, John, don't. And by the time my brain says the word don't, I have kicked Ricardo's legs out from under him. And I just hear like, boom, as he hits the mat. And I go on top of him, and I get Ricardo, this 250-pound motherfucker, inside control for about 3 seconds. And he bench presses me off him, and Woolie, for the next 3 minutes, I felt genuine terror.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
So, like, that is all to say, I get my shit rocked all the time in jiu-jitsu. It's just part of it. I kind of like that about it. Keeps me humble, you know?
Man, I mean, look, so you saw there, like, I didn't know, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, but the one thing I kept trying, you saw me go for it at least twice, was a double leg takedown, right?
Yeah.
I just tried because I'm like, that's all I know. I learned the sequence there, and I'm like, let me just go for it. And it never worked the fuck out. But even in just practicing it, like the full spear to drop kind of thing, it feels like on the receiving end of that can wind you. Like, that can be brutal. Plus, my full weight dropping down to the ground.
Oh, and like with your build, Woolie, that would, like, if you worked that up, that would be devastating. And you know, with every move in jiu-jitsu, you fail 100 times before you get it right. You know, like there's moves that I tried. Like, I have been trying to, like, lock in Darcy chokes for about a year. I would say only in the last 3 months have I actually started tapping people with them reliably.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
After all this time. Yeah. So, no, so just like, it's, I can understand that, like, starting in stand-up means risking being on the receiving end of something that devastating. You know, and then like the idea of like being airborne for a second, hitting the ground, and then coming to your senses and having to continue figuring out what's coming next. You know, I'm sure there's a moment of extreme vulnerability where your opponent gets to approach from whatever angle they want at that point. You know, and if you start on the ground, I guess you just manage to avoid that impact and disorienting moment.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's just again with a little bit of high school wrestling and a little bit of boxing, it does feel like standing up just is it starts naturally, you know. But
yeah, I always prefer stand-up.
Yeah.
And I think there's like an argument to be made that like it is a bit of a weakness of jiu-jitsu that stand-up isn't taught more. But you know, people do jiu-jitsu for different reasons, so it's like it's kind of whatever. But
well, again, I recognize just the getting close, leaning in, and then trying to, like, you know, back of the neck, just kind of hooking up a little bit, like, you know, lacing up like that. I kind of recognized it, you know, as like, I'm like, oh, high school, you know, like that's I know what that looks like. Yeah, okay.
So I
man.
think the thing that kept me coming back to jiu-jitsu, Woolie, is like I remember after my first class and like I just got the shit beat out of me, you know? Like as a black belt in another martial art, just feeling completely defenseless. And I remember walking home and just covered in sweat and out of breath. And I also just felt like a genuine kind of euphoria of like I left everything I have in there.
Yeah.
Like, I got nothing left. And like for me, jiu-jitsu was like how I basically made my anxiety manageable. You know, like I had crippling anxiety for so long. Like real just bouncing between the chronic low hum where I just can't relax at all to like, you know, full on panic attacks and all that kind of stuff. Jiu-jitsu is what let me take complete control of it, you know, along with therapy, along with meditation, other shit. But jiu-jitsu levels me out in a way nothing does. And I guess I'm curious, did you experience any part of that?
I've experienced that wholeheartedly with boxing already.
Yeah.
And when I had, anxiety at its peak, and I had like moments of just like, it was interesting to like think. I thought I had a couple of times where I you know, I thought I felt like panic, you know, these panic attack-ish moments, and I really hadn't until I had a real one, and I was like, oh, that's what that is.
When I remember the first time you told me that was how I knew that, like, yeah, that's how, when someone says that, that's how you know they're really dealing with a panic attack.
Yeah, I'd just been saying the word because people said it, and I was like, oh, this is a discomfort that kicks in sometimes, but I'd never experienced...
You feel... People think that a panic attack is a state of high stress. It's not. It's a physical thing that happens your body where you're like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah. I remember looking at a scale and like I had like lost like some 4 or 6 pounds in like 48 hours from just, it was crazy. I just remember like the physical aspect of it, like was like, I had never experienced it before. This is what it really is. Right. Yeah. And yes, going into a gym and just doing things and moving and focusing on what's in front of you until there's nothing, like you can't think about anything when you're about to get punched in the face. You know?
It's the thing I always say. You can't think about me in YouTube comments when a large Brazilian man is trying to choke you.
Exactly. And funny enough, already having that and knowing that, there was a dude at the second class who we were just chatting with after, you know, as we were wrapping up. And yeah, he was like, you know, I got a lot going on at home outside right now, but none of that matters when someone... You know, none of that matters when someone's right in front of me trying to hurt me, and I have to remember how to get out of it. Like he's like everyone is saying the exact same thing in different ways, and like yes, I've super experienced that.
So the lesson here is get chill through violence,
reach heaven through violence. To quote "Kill 6 billion demons." Yeah, man, it is. It's real interesting to get that perspective on it. And I know what you wanted to share, and I think I felt it. I felt a little bit of what you've been doing. That makes me
so happy. And again, Woolie, so much props for actually doing it. That was tough.
I mean, what's tough is doing this for years, you know, and getting your shit rocked and getting things broken and having them heal and then getting back in there. That's amazing, you know? So
I mean, look, I'm at the point now where I can't function without it. Like I it's not a perseverance thing for me. It's I literally need it in my life to be a not terrible person.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's a passion, man. I can see that, you know. And I think so infinite props to, you know, Command Grab James, you know, thank you to Reggie as well.
I'm gonna hope that we have not seen the last of Command Grab James in one form or another.
Awesome name. And he's already been like, yo, come play some petanque. We're gonna go play some old man street games with like a little steel ball. You know the Disco Elysium game that the two old men were playing? Like, he's gonna play that. He's like, yeah, we're gonna go play that with some friends. There's a guy there that's like a petanque fucking killer. So apparently we're gonna go learn from the best. So yeah, we're gonna hang out and do some shit, absolutely. But you know, thanks to him for just taking the time and you know, really, yeah, just inviting me in and like, you know, is really just answered all the questions, set it all up, made it as smooth an experience as possible, knew what the fuck he was talking about, was just really real legit and solid, you know, and made this whole thing work out. Because yeah, it could have easily flopped and failed if I was running around trying to figure out how to get this happening and what to do. But
thank you so much, Command Grab James.
Yeah.
You are truly, you are the Versus Wolves.
Much appreciated, man. And you know, and yeah, Reggie came out as well and grabbed the camera because I didn't bring anyone the first time, and he didn't
feel any need to get in.
He was asked. He's like, nah. I brought an extra pair of shorts. You know, he's like, nah, I'm good. You know, let's, you know, like, all right, fair enough. You know, but it was I appreciate him doing that as well, because again, I'm also somebody that like. I like to be low profile. I don't want to make a spectacle if I can avoid it. And I know what it's like to, I was thinking of like, if I was at a boxing class and then like someone who's new came in and then like just started filming everything and stuff. And it was like, God, you're like an Instagram person or you're like a TikToker here to do this. And I was like, I don't want to be that, you know?
Yeah, no.
So I was trying to be as low-key as possible with it, which is why I have to admit I was kind of mortified when I said, maybe I'll take a photo. And I just kind of meant, like, I'll take a photo of, you know, me there just going like, hey, I came to the place. And when he kind of stopped the class to take the group photo, I was like, I did not mean to stop the class.
Woolie, that's actually quite a common thing. Like, I think that the place I train, we do photos pretty much every training session.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I did see like when, you know, kind of going. I saw like there's a lot of photos from the actual gym that like they take frequently enough, so it seems like it wasn't too out of place. But
it's not a big deal.
But I felt like oh god, I walked in, I stopped the show, and now everyone has to do what, you know? So. But all this ultimately, like, you know, it was cool, and I think so. What I get from it is like when I box, there's a feeling of just this feels cool, and I love every moment of what I'm doing. And when I land something and it works, and that little woo, you know, that little just the movement, the feel of the sound of the impact. There's a lot that reinforces itself positively in my brain as it's happening. And here I can see the echoes of like when you get the hook in and you get the right, and you're like, you position, you get the other leg. Like when I put one leg up and I got it around the knee, and then the other one, I was like, oh shit, that's the position you get, you know, like those are the times where I was like, I could see these little building blocks like creating like, those moments.
You can imagine what your first tap out feels like.
Right, exactly, yeah. In my head right now, because I'm still just like a Magikarp, you know, flopping, I feel like this feels like it feels like a sequence of like how to get out, if someone starts grabbing you and shoving you around, how to stop that, how to, you know what I mean? It just kind of feels like it's like a bit of a practical, like, here's a couple things that'll stop if someone tries to grab a limb or do some things, and you'll know that. There's definitely an element that where boxing, I feel like it is a sport, right? It's the sport element. It's not training you maybe how to fight necessarily. It's how to punch with some gloves and some wraps in a ring where there's rounds, and you know what I mean? Like a whole sequence of things in place. But like, it feels definitely like, it is a sport that takes everything out of you. And with jiu-jitsu, I feel less of the sport and I feel more of the war zone. you know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. I probably haven't done enough boxing to really understand, because to me, like, I still think I look at boxing and I see, like, well, fuck, I would not want to fight a boxer, you know?
Yeah. I think there's just there's moments where you back up a bit, you breathe, you make some space, or you tie up, and you kind of come back to, like, 1-2, working the jab, working the basics. You disconnect and try to figure out your angles, and then go back in. And here, like, the break times exist, but they're so hard to. It just feels like you're like, no.
They come once after 3 minutes for 10 seconds.
Yeah, there's like, no, we're going. It's still going. Nope, figure it out. You're okay. You relaxed. Well, now you gave him the ability to, flop over, and you're upside down. Don't tensing up is a constant thing, but knowing that, like, tensing up in the wrong way is just a waste, as you were describing. I'm like, oh man, yeah. It just feels like I'm fighting a war, Yeah.
I mean, for the first lesson any new white belt comes in that I roll with consistently, I'll always just stop the fight and be like, just chill. Just relax. Don't spend any energy you don't need to. Because that's exactly what I learned when I came into Ariel's. Mm-hmm. Anyway, Woolie, listen, I feel like we could probably go on about this for a long time. And I feel like this is probably not the last time we talk about fighting on this podcast in one way or the other. But we gotta rank it now, with a little caveat here, Woolie.
Yeah. Okay, all right, yeah.
I think it shouldn't be jiu-jitsu; it should be starting jiu-jitsu.
Starting Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Okay. The details. What the
Woolie? Woolie, this is a serious process. I'm going to have to ask you to take this seriously. Is taking your first 2 Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu classes better than Omicron the Nomad Soul, directed by David Cage?
I'll hit you up right quick. It is definitely minimum better than Policenauts, right?
Okay.
But where
getting choked to near unconsciousness better than Policenauts.
Minimum better than Policenauts. Where
Which was more grueling, Woolie? Second by second counting the steps in Fear and Hunger, or getting choked in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
I mean, they're both grueling, but which did I enjoy more?
I'm going to give you free reign on this. You can put this wherever you want on the board.
Oh my god. I appreciated starting Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu more than Fear and Hunger.
Okay. Did you appreciate it more than Vinland Saga Season 1? The concept for our podcast makes no sense. What are we talking about? It's just nonsense.
This is insane. Oh my god.
Why do you people listen? What's the point?
All right,
okay.
Knowing that there is a season 2 and beyond that might rank differently, starting Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is better than Vinland Saga Season
1. Whoa, that's insane. I did not expect that. Okay.
Right? There might be more to come in a completely unexpected way. But this shit hit better than that.
Wow. Okay. Because you were a big fan of Vinland Saga.
I was a big fan of Vinland Saga, but I'm also a fan of combat sports.
Okay, cool.
And with the right gym, with the right teacher, with the right encouragement and attitude, I had a whole lot of fucking fun, man. I had a ton of fun.
But what I would say is that there is also room for jiu-jitsu to develop, should that be something you ever want to pursue. And I think your experience will evolve dramatically, not unlike a second season of a certain Viking-based anime.
Right. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see what comes of the situation. I mean, I feel as if like there's when I was looking at the footage, there was an exact screenshot that just summed up the experience for me. And I'm going to see if I could just grab that real quick. Okay, so it flew by. It was really quick, but just this is the feeling right here.
That's
Right?
the one.
That's the feeling.
That's the one.
That's the feeling right there. I'm going to take that feeling that you see in that screenshot and plant it firmly above Vinland Saga Season 1.
But is getting armbarred by a Jiu-Jitsu black belt better than kill 6 billion demons?
I don't think so. I think
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
I there might be a story to be told in this armbar and everything that comes later, but this story is at its beginning, and kill 6 billion demons has taken me on higher highs than I expected with some cool
fair.
shit.
That's fair.
But
Woolie, we have a new number 3. What a monumentous occasion for the podcast.
how about that?
How about that? Excellent. Goddamn. So happy to hear that you got so much out of it.
John.
But
Yeah. Are we reading
You know,
each other's minds?
I think so.
3, 2, 1. Recommend or die! All right. Man, we keep saying we're gonna get through this quick, and then we just roll, and here we are hitting.
We have too much fun.
Yeah.
It's too fun. I don't know. It's just
We're blowing past the time limit we said we were going to, and so let's just get there.
It's I want to watch a BoJack Horseman tonight. God damn it.
Okay, all right. Let's go, because yeah, I always go, I wonder if we'll have enough to talk about, and John's like, we will have enough.
Literally every episode so far has been Woolie being like, well, are we going to be able to pad this out? Like, is it going to be long? And me being like, our last episode was 3.5 hours.
All right.
Okay. Woolie, would you care to begin?
Yes. So you have completed Policenauts. You've gotten a look at the mind of a genius Kajumbo. And, the wild out of left field recommendations are fun ones. That's why I would like you for this month to go.
Oh, I'm nervous.
It's fine. It's just a little weird. I'd like you to take a trip over to the Canadian, Japanese, Argentinian animated television series known as Cyber 6. Have you heard of Cyber 6?
I have never heard of this.
Okay. Cyber 6 is a Canadian, Japanese, Argentinian animated series that was aired here in Canada for a while, but also elsewhere. And it is a weird show that should not exist, but through the miracle of a wild series of events and stories managed to. It started as an Argentinian comic book, and it became an animated series that is really odd and has some stuff that's kind of fun and interesting. And overall is a bit of a childhood thing I watched too as well, and I want you to check that out.
Okay, any guidelines in terms of how many episodes, or is there a stopping point?
So it's a fairly short series in that it was only one season that made it as far as about 13 episodes or so.
Okay, nice and simple.
Do what you can. If you don't have the ability to make it through all of them,
If it's 13 episodes, I will make it through.
Okay. Because I was going to say, like, at least watch, I think, like, episodes 9 to the finale if you can't make it to through the whole thing. But there is some good old Saturday morning style filler in there, too. So,
Okay, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, Cyber 6. It's a weird one. I'm like, you never heard of Cyber 6, right? I'm not going to get combo broken up fucking Cyber 6.
Let me look it up, because I have a feeling this might have actually aired on Irish television.
It's not impossible because it aired in a lot of weird places.
Oh no, I don't know what the fuck this is.
Okay, yeah.
No, I have never.
This is
seen
obscure and weird, but I guarantee you, there's a couple of people.
Does not look like a Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah,
it looks cool.
It shouldn't exist, but it does.
Okay, I'm gonna stop looking up shit.
Yep. There's a couple people hearing this, not many, but some that are marking the fuck out.
Oh, they are losing their minds. Okay.
All right.
Okay, good pick. Do you think, Woolie, maybe we should take one more minute and just thank our patrons again?
I would like to thank each and every one of you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I think I speak for myself and Woolie when I say that we both feel a tremendous obligation to you because we are now financially beholden to you, so that whatever one of us recommends, I'm not going to say legally, but it's not far off. We kind of have to do it.
Okay. Yes, I asterisk get what you're getting at here. I'm not used to this feeling. This is a very unusual situation to be in. But I'm in it now, and I'm here. I've shown up. I'm ready to play.
Yeah, it's weird though, because like it's such a strange feeling, because it's kind of like we're sort of trapped with each other, aren't we, Woolie?
Little bit.
Woolie?
John?
If you were me, what would you do next?
I suppose I would lay the groundwork for some...
Hunter, what do you think all this has been? You think I give a fuck about this podcast, Woolie? You think I care about... You think I give two shits about Policenauts or Vinland Saga? Now you can't go anywhere. Woolie, I designate to you the Hunter x Hunter, Zoldyck Family arc, and Heaven's Arena arc.
And so we've arrived.
Yeah. I'm glad I can finally drop the act. This ridiculous act.
You know, I thought for it... Fuck you, John. Fuck... Versus Wolf!